sleuths of the night, once again, we gather in search of the truth, dark, and mystery. It's the Drunk Turkey Show.
Big development today in the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. According to state and local officials and court documents, 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger has been arrested. He was arrested in a raid this morning in Pennsylvania.
We have new details on what Bryan Kohberger was doing right before his arrest. Police says a tactical team burst in to arrest the Idaho murder suspect. He was in pajamas and latest gloves, stuffing trash into Ziploc bags.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Hit the button, like and subscribe. You guys know what to do, just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? I hope everybody's had a safe and wonderful Happy New Year's. Welcome in 2026 and 2025. We hardly knew you. It's already in the books and gone. Welcome back, everybody, to the DT Show. Today, we're going to be going back into the Summer Wells case. A little girl went and disappeared out in Tennessee a few years back. A lot of speculation, a lot of controversy, a lot of conspiracies that have gone on when it comes to that surrounding her disappearance. There's been a recent search, and given the time frame, which we're going to talk a little bit about, given the time frame, I had former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer on the show not too long ago, and she thought that at that time, it'd been quite a bit of time for there not to have been some sort of movement in the search. And now that there's been an extended amount of time, I'm kind of concerned about the findings of said search. Hit the like button, subscribe. Let's bring in our special guest today. We have Ryan from Ryan Finds Truth and Dr. Jaime Vona. Dr. Vona and Ryan, welcome to the show. Happy New Year. How are you guys doing? Ryan, how are you doing?
Doing good. Happy New Year. It's good to be here.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, it is. It's my birthday. Happy
birthday today.
I celebrate with the world. We turn another year together. And so with how was y'all's New Year's? Did y'all do anything special? Dr. Vona, did you do anything?
I had like 30 people over. No big deal. I cooked all day and then I got sick. So I'm sick, but I'm good. I work through sick all the time. No big deal.
Well, I hope you're feeling better.
I'll be fine. Better. Really, I'm good. I'm just saying, like, if I sound nasally or whatever, people are like, "Oh, what's wrong?" I'm good. I got whatever everybody's getting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Ryan, how about yourself? I think you've had a couple of searches recently that ended up finding the target. How's the last few weeks been for you?
So New Year's Eve, just Jen and I, we had to rest because we had two very busy weekends, and during the week too. Yeah, last weekend it was surprising. We've been doing this for 2 years, and it's always been search like crazy, do a lot of ground, water, air. You come up short, and you just keep on finding the next area to search. And this one was the first time we covered the case. It was Swapnil Srivastava down in Clemson, South Carolina, and it was a pond we were focused on. Everybody, just based on the research, it was like, what? It's water. It's got to be water. First pond we focused on, and there was a team effort. It was Nug and Adam, exploring with Nug, Adam Brown Adventures, Vernon Schertz, he was a sonar expert, sonar drone expert, and we just did our thing. We each had our own expertise. They sonared the pond. We took Moon, who's in training, not fully certified as an HRD dog, took her around the pond, and to our shock, Moon found one of his boxing gloves along the shore that had floated up from the water. I guess he had them on, and they floated up and went to the shore. She found the glove, and then just like clockwork, the team worked together. They were like, all right, this is where we really need to pay attention. They sonared the area. They saw something that looked like a body at the bottom and confirmed it with an underwater visual drone and called in the cops. And first find for Moon.
Wow.
For the team, but first experience like this for Moon for sure.
Oh, that must be like bittersweet.
It was not what I expected. I'll tell you. You expect to feel like, yes, we found someone, and
Yeah,
joy
and
and
you're like,
happiness.
no.
And then you're watching the police come in, and you're watching the recovery, and it's just like, this is tragic. This is
It's
sad,
traumatic for you too, and then it'll be like seared in your
horrible.
head forever too.
And I said it on the video. The only moment to me that felt really good is when the girlfriend who was there and running the search walked up to me. She gave me a big hug. You can see it in the video, and she's like, thank you guys for finding him. I almost started crying, and I'm like, that.
Yeah, because think about how many people don't get that closure, and then they can
Mhm.
never really move on because part of them feels like their loved one could be out there, even though their brain tells them that they're probably not.
Yeah. And these
So
families
you
are
did, you
on
brought
their own.
closure, but not closure, but you brought, kind of closure for a family that was looking for a loved one. So that's amazing. But I hear what you're saying. The price still, it still feels shitty.
It does. It does. And they even said, we could have been searching forever and never finding him. And so it's like they can put that chapter aside and deal with, the last things they have to deal with, saying to their goodbyes, getting closure. It's
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, those scenarios are always tough. When I first started off in law enforcement, the first call that I got, that was a murder call. I was across town. I was a rook on the FTO program, which is the field training officer program. Meaning I had a partner that was showing me the ropes, and because we don't, it was not very often that a murder happens. Myself and the other rookie on shift, our FTOs thought it would be a good learning experience for us to go out there. And on the way out there, I'm thinking to myself, all these possibilities, what's going on? I mean, they hadn't even cleared the building. There's a good possibility that the person that committed this crime is still in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got the adrenaline pumping, everything going. And when I pulled up, well, in front of me was the victim's daughter was driving to the scene, and she was hauling tail, and she had like a white Suburban Tahoe, and which is what our supervisors used at the time. And I actually thought it was one of our supervisors in front of me because of the way they were driving. And anywho, we get there, and the young lady gets out, and then just starts screaming, bawling. You're hearing the family members screaming and bawling. They start, they get me and the other rook to go and talk to the family members. They're like, all right, guys, we need you guys to calm them down and stay with them while they try to figure out what was going on. And you always get asked the same question, why, those type of things. And it's tough. It's a much different scenario. I felt like complete crap that I was excited initially,
Mm-hmm.
my real, first initial thought, I'm going to a murder case. I'm going to figure out what's going on, blah, 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 blah. And it's not what you think.
It's tough.
But
huge credit to law enforcement too, because it dawned on me that this was our first time. We'd never seen it before. These guys, the men and women who go out there and search, the deputies, all of those law enforcement folks that searched, they ran dogs. They spent so much time, and when we were walking out, Dan, I can't even tell you how that felt. How a law enforcement person who sees that kind of thing all the time actually say thank you to the searchers, to us. Yeah. I'm like, you guys, thank you. You know what I mean? For everything you do. This is constant for them. It's not like a one-time thing. And so I don't know, much respect to law enforcement for doing this type of thing constantly.
Yeah. 100%. Well, that was, they got closure and answers were found. So it was a positive thing. And, congratulations to your team for going out there and able to find her and for a successful mission.
Especially because you lost sleep. I did see something, right? Your dog stole your blanket. I did see that. That was. I would have done the same thing at first. I was like, why would he let and I'm like, I looked over at my dog and I'm like, yeah, I would have let you steal the blanket too.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations again, and first of many searches that I'm sure you're going to be able to bring closure to.
Thank you.
All righty, guys. So tonight we're going to be talking about the Summer Wells case. Again, this is a disappearance that happened a few years back, and a little girl that disappeared under some suspicious circumstances. First thing I want to ask you guys about, and I'll start off with you, Ryan. The search, we haven't heard anything about it since. TBI, FBI, and local sheriff's department were out there. They brought in a bunch of dirt, supposedly, or took out a bunch of dirt. This residence belonged to a person whose last name is Hill, and there's some hills that reside very close to Summer and in the area, including the street names. So, with that being said, any concern about the length of time that it's been for you, Ryan, and nothing's happened?
It's hard. Yes and no. So a lot of people are saying, and I saw your was it Jennifer? I can never pronounce her last name.
Coffindaffer.
She made a really good point. It is true that the longer it goes on, the more you have to be concerned that they haven't said anything. But we did hear from neighbors that allegedly there were trucks of dirt being pulled off the property, and you have to think that processing that much evidence, I don't think it would just take weeks. I'm hopeful that this month is the month that if there was anything, that it will come out. I'm a little concerned about things I'm hearing recently, and I haven't even mentioned this on my channel. I'm going to mention it here, Dan, because, and I can't say his name, but there was someone last week. I promised I wouldn't say he reached out to me, so I'm not going to say his name, but I'm going to say he reached out to me. Someone from the family who was connected to that property reached out, and only to thank us for being respectful in our video and blurring their driveway. But I'm sitting there shocked, like, one of the family members just reached out to me, like, can I get some answers? Like, what's going on? So carefully, I started asking them questions like, okay, what was it all about? What happened? Did they take anything off the property? And all I'm going to share, what I'll share is what I'm hearing from them is different than the rumors that I'm hearing. And I don't know what to believe. He claimed there wasn't dirt brought off the property. Why? If there were a lot of neighbors who said there were trucks going off that property. So it makes me concerned that we're not hearing what's actually happening through the community rumor mill. So now I'm a little more concerned about not hearing anything from TBI, that maybe it is the fact that they didn't find anything. I don't know what to believe at this point. I'm actually concerned that we won't hear anything.
I have a question. So for someone like me that isn't 100% always following the case, whose property is it? I feel like that's so ignorant, but I want to make sure that everybody out there is aware too. And I want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. Which property were they on?
That came out in the early days. It's owned by a man called Paul Hill, who all the neighbors say is a very respectable person in the community. No record, nothing.
And he's not somebody that we've talked about or anything?
Never came up before this. Other than the connections that I think Dan mentioned the last time we talked to people who lived on Ben Hill Road.
There was some folks that lived nearby or had access to his property. One person was a Randy Hill, who was a tree trimmer, and he became a person of interest in the
that's where the names come in.
Yeah, through the eyes of public opinion, because I think Ziggy had interviewed somebody who was a tree trimmer, and they mentioned a Randy who was working there. They didn't know his last name, which kind of sparked my attention. Like, how do you work with somebody and don't know their last name? And then they also mentioned that they knew Candace, which kind of told me, because they said that the person that she interviewed, the tree trimmer, said that earlier that day, Candace and Grandis had left with Summer, and they had seen them, and that Randy had recognized them. So that told me that, for them to have known him, that guy must have been local. So, kind of connecting the dots here. Is it possible that, a tree trimming company hired or subcontracted some folks to cut some of the trees, and because they were subcontracted and not working there, that's the reason why there was a little bit of a disconnect there between the last names, and why he may know some of the locals because he's from there. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case. I don't know if it was Randy Hill, but he may have had access to it. Paul Hill is also related to Fred Hill, who is the guy we've spoken quite a bit about, the one that married the YouTuber Ziggy. So that's Fred Hill, and he lives nearby, and he may have had access to the property. I mean,
are they all related?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hell, like, are they?
Except for Dawn and
Like,
Candace are not related to the the Hills, correct?
So Fred is Paul is his
Fred's the panty dropper.
uncle, and then Andy Bernard, who lived right kind of directly across the street from the Wells, it's his great uncle. So they're related in that way. It's Paul Hill is their uncle / great uncle.
And what about the tree trimmer he's related to?
He's like the son.
Wow.
And I think there was also a report of a red Tacoma or a red Tundra Toyota that was seen, and there's been red vehicles that were seen on that property before, red trucks that were Tundra or Tacomas, I think, one of the two. And so those are the I guess the interactions there. But if he's saying that it wasn't to do with dirt, I reckon to try to believe, I kind of side with him, to be honest with you.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I saw drone footage and I couldn't see any sign of excavation anywhere of the property. I don't remember the guy's name, Don something, maybe T something, T with Don. Yeah. I don't know, maybe he's
he did a drone flight. That's right.
Yeah,
illegal drone flight.
I don't know if it was. I'm not in aviation, but it did not appear that there was an excavation site anywhere.
No. We should probably also stipulate, Dan, that the Randy who was the tree trimmer, we've never confirmed that it's Randy Hill. It was just a Randy, right? I think you might have said that earlier. I just want to.
Right. Yeah. I said, I don't know if it's the same one or not, but
yeah,
you can kind of deduce. I mean, how many people live in that area?
Well, apparently a lot of Hills do.
That's true.
I mean, it's not a huge population, but I don't know what we have to look it up. Population of Rogersville.
Right. So so how many of Rogersville named Randy are tree trimmers? You know what I'm saying? That would know people local to that area.
And we know he's a local to the area.
You know what I mean? Because he knew them, according to the other guy, the tree trimmer that Ziggy spoke with. The Randy had recognized and spoken with Summer and Grandis and not Summer, but Candace and Grandis as they were leaving that morning. And so they knew each other. They were familiar. That's somebody from the area. And so I'm not saying it is him, but he also, oddly enough, gets fired because he crashes into a guide wire that day.
Yep. It's a weird coincidence. That's for sure.
It is. I mean, it's, Jennifer Coffindaffer had brought up something about, if somebody had an accident, there would be evidence of panic. And I brought up hitting a guide wire sounds like evidence of panic. So, but I don't know. I don't know if it's him or not. I mean, I don't want to bury the guy. I have no idea. At the end of the day, it doesn't appear, to me at least, that the search was anything concrete enough to warrant an arrest.
Exactly. There was no arrest. There was no announcement other than the announcement saying they searched and it's related to Summer Wells. And there's been nothing since.
So wait, we don't. You said that there was like a bunch of dirt. So if there was nowhere that they dug, where'd the dirt did they just take like surface dirt? Like,
well, a lot of people are speculating that it came from the hog pens because of the whole.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but Dan's got a good point. I mean, you can see from the aerial footage whether it's Paul Hill's property, which is pretty visible. The coverage of trees is not terrible. So you can see the land really well. And you can see the land next door. It's a lot of acreage. And which is, I think, also someone in the family. There's nothing dug up other than what was normal. You know what I mean? Like there's logging equipment, but I didn't see any huge holes either. So I don't know. Unless the hog area is covered up, Dan, maybe. Maybe it's a building. I don't know.
Does anybody know what trauma drama is? Ziggy will be glad to tell you she's drama. She told me.
That's just, I guess, because people are, that's a derogatory, I think, term towards true crimers.
I'm so sorry. I'm like trying to keep up and I'm like, I don't know what this means.
No. Yeah. When somebody calls somebody crama, it's when they're saying that they're just taking true crime to a drama standpoint. Not like a derogatory remark.
I did not say that, Ziggy. I was reading the chat.
No, it's not
At
like
least
it's like
second
a
it somehow.
yeah. I've heard people calling other like true crimers who they say that they're crama or something like that because they're true crime drama and they're just drama.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah,
I
they're
get
just
it.
true crime drama
Got it.
stuff. Like they rather argue with each other and about each other than talk about the case in general.
Can I tell you guys that is why talking to you guys, working with you guys is so refreshing. And I told Dan this when we first started covering the case together, that I told Dan, I'm like, you know that people are going to, the Summer Wells case is worse than most when it comes to the drama. And I was starting to warn him. I'm like, you cover this case, they're going to come after you. He's like, yeah, I've been there, done that. He's used to it. But what I love about you guys is you don't respond, you don't participate. And I love the fact, Dr. Vona, that you don't even know what crime and drama is.
I don't even know what it is. I feel
That's
bad that I
awesome.
even repeated it. But I will say every time I do a live on Summer Wells or Jack and Lily, I lose like 10 followers the next day, or subscribers, which I'm totally fine with. Like, I guess my thing is if somebody doesn't want to follow me over something, then maybe they would cause drama in the future for me. So might as well just wean them out now. But Daniel gave me the advice from the beginning. He said, just don't ever respond. And I don't.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's not, and I'm secure with it myself. So it takes a lot to like get me. Like I would get more hurt by like if Daniel said something to me as opposed to somebody that I never met whose name I have no idea who it is.
Oh, Dr. Vona, I take it to a whole new level. What you just said earlier, the people who leave you, who unsubscribe from you, are not the kind of people who you are building your community for. So I take it further. When someone actually makes a comment that is drama, I don't just ignore it. I blocked so many people from my channel. I don't want that as part of our community. No negativity. And it's you want to build a community of people that are like you, that are into.
And there's plenty of them out there. So I think that, and it might take longer to grow a channel doing it that way, but I'd rather have solid people at the end of the day than just anybody.
Yeah. Yep. A Cal says whack a troll. Exactly. Yes.
Whack a troll. Joyce says, so Dan, explain further why you think dirt probably wasn't hauled out. Basically, I didn't see any kind of excavation of dirt that was pulled out. All these people saw this dirt, but nobody took a picture of it. I find that to be odd too.
So how do we know that? Just from like word of mouth?
Community gossip.
Yeah. Some folks saw it and they saw all these dump trucks going in and out. We've seen pictures of the cars back there. We saw news footage of them out there on the field, but we didn't see anything of any significant like dirt being moved out. And so at this point, I would say it's probably more than likely that there wasn't dirt moved out. But what does that lead us with then? Because apparently this was a tip, and I wondered if there was a tip that maybe perhaps because I wonder how would it lead to excavating, right? What kind of tip would lead to excavating? Now this could be different, now maybe perhaps somebody may have saw something. I don't know. It's all speculation. I don't really want to go too far into it because then I don't want somebody to run with something that's probably wrong because I have zero idea what it could end up being. But it makes me wonder because there's a lot of possibilities of if it wasn't the dirt, what else were they out there? And if it was an outside search, I mean, there's only few things you can be looking for so many years later. You know what I mean? It's not like you're going to find footprints or you're going to find, you might find some evidence, clothes and things of that nature, but that's going to bring that type of response. It's an interesting one. That's for sure.
Very much so. And do you think that if they didn't find anything that they would have said that they didn't find anything? Do you think that's why people are speculating?
If they didn't find anything, they're not going to come out and say anything about it. We rarely hear. The only way I think that we'll hear something is if there's a public push that Paul Hill did something and law enforcement feels pressured that they have to come out and say something to protect him.
Gotcha. Yasmin, thank you so much. Yasmin gifted 5 memberships.
That's amazing. Oh, wait, I got a So yeah, we have Yasmin gifting five the minds behind true crime with Dr. Vona memberships, and we have Sirius coming in with $20. Thank you,
birthday.
saying happy birthday, DT. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. We are so proud and blessed to have your voice speaking out for the victims of the places we will go, my friend. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Sirius. You're amazing. All right, let's pull this up. Let's get into what I'm going to pull up. Just two of these. We're going to listen to what Candace and Dawn have to say, and then we have a interview with Dawn where it's just strictly him. And so let's listen into this.
I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers.
Can we put it a tiny bit louder?
Yeah. Do you guys, first and foremost, Dr. Vona, does she seem like she's under the influence of something?
I don't know, only because I just give me like a minute to like get her baseline again, and then I'd be able to tell you.
I'm going to have it on normal speed, but I can't help it.
A lot.
All right, let's listen. Is this good?
I know she
Volume?
didn't walk away from this
Can you
property
hear it,
by
Ryan?
herself or off this yard
You can hear it.
by
Okay.
her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers. And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay, and I walked her.
I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like she's sober here.
No, her pupils are really like pins.
They are, and I mean, there's a little bit of the speech is a little bit delayed and just a little bit slurred towards the end of her sentences. If I pulled her over, I would have been suspicious of something.
See, I just get hesitant because people could have like, I mean, I don't know her medical history. Like, what if she had MS or something, and that was part of like her speech? Or so I would want to make sure that we caution for that. However, if we're to assume that she doesn't have any conditions outside of this as far as like medical reasonings, then I agree.
I mean, could it be that she's gone through something pretty traumatic? You know, could her doctor could have prescribed her something for
I was
anxiety?
just going to say she might be on prescribed something that's making her like that too.
Right. I mean, giving her the benefit of the doubt, I think that it would be not out of the realm of possibility to
Like an
that a
anxiety
doctor
med.
would give her. Yeah. I mean, shoot, I got an anxiety meds because I had a dog bite me in the arm. I can't imagine, losing my kid.
I needed anxiety meds for when you told the story about the dog biting your arm.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you think? Do you think she's sober here?
I will say, having had multiple in-person experiences with her, and of course all of the interviews I've seen, I've usually seen her like this, and I don't know what that means. It doesn't mean that she's
So this
always
is her
on
baseline.
something. Yeah, and I don't know. Is she always on something, or is that just like
It might be her
mentally?
baseline.
Just I don't know. I've never understood that. It's just her. That's how she is. So I don't know.
But if
Well,
she's always medicated, we wouldn't really know. Like I had a friend, speaking of MS, that was on medication, and she would be like this, but she was always like this. So after a while, like you're saying, you couldn't tell if it would like what came first type thing.
Yeah. I think it is her baseline.
Well, I'm going to speed it up now. I just wanted to play a little bit of it at normal speed so we can kind of get an idea of what she's like normally. And then I'm going to speed it up so that we can listen a little bit quicker.
All the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back. And within 2 minutes, I came back. And I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was...
I don't know what's going on with my internet, but if I disappear, guys, you guys continue to talk. There's a good chance
Of
that my
course.
internet might go out.
No, no
Or not.
problem. I will say something real quick here. This is the thing. When you go in your house and you go to call for your kid, this just sparked me as like odd, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. But why even ask the boys where is she? Wouldn't you just like yell downstairs like Summer?
Well, I think she had told her to go with the boys, and I think she told the boys to watch her. And so when she walks in and doesn't see her, she tells the boys, where's your sister at?
That's
You
fair.
get what I'm saying?
Hey Dan, do you remember earlier in this statement, did she say when she put, and maybe this is the Chris McDonough interview, but at some point I can't remember, she said she took her in the house, and I'm trying to remember, she said she actually sent her into the basement or just asked the boys to watch her. You watched the interview, I think. Do you remember?
I don't recall her saying that she sent her to the basement.
Okay. Because that would make a difference, I guess, in this case.
Yeah, it would. But I don't recall her saying she sent her to the basement. I think she just went to the basement. And when she asked the kids said she went to the basement. But I'd have to go back and listen again.
Okay.
Nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. And, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck and I've never heard of it.
Did you see him do the tongue?
Did you say the tongue?
Yeah, at the end of the sentence, watch. See,
There.
right there, he takes it back. What did he say right before that?
And, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that
I could make out what he said.
or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes.
Okay.
And even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. And, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
Okay.
It's really strange that
Just go to the police and try to clear it up. I think it seems kind of elusive. It's really strange. Good.
I was just going to ask Dr. Vona, could you elaborate on what that means? That like
I don't know what he means by that. I was going to ask you guys, like, do you guys know what he means by that?
No, I mean
that makes sense.
The tongue licking scene, the lip licking.
The tongue licking. Oh, okay, that I can. I thought you meant when he said it seems all kind of elusive. So I think that with the tongue licking, and again, I'm not like the behavior experts, but I watch that behavior bureau too, and they'll often say that when we say things that we want to take back or that we don't mean to say, and we see this often. If you ever can find videos where somebody's being deceptive, take notice of their baseline and then take notice of when that they're lying, and you'll start to pick up on these things that you see in many liars. So it's like they're common characteristics, and one of them you often see is this tongue thing, and the people won't do it all the time. So it's just sometimes. And it doesn't really mean anything. I'm not saying that doesn't mean he's lying. It's just interesting because you don't always see him do that, and he does it here. So it just stood out.
Do you think he might be thinking his answer's stupid? Like his answer was,
no, I think
go to the FBI or the TBI and you can clear it up.
No, I think by using like elusive and stuff, he's like trying to like tell us how smart he is.
Right. Maybe, but
not really, but like in his head,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, and even over here, how he jumps in and answers the question.
Right.
Like, I feel like he feels like he could keep things. Like, if you just keep me by you, Candace, like, I got you. Like he can run the narrative in his head. He even if we're not buying it, he thinks that everybody's buying it type thing.
Right. See, to me, I wondered if he thought maybe what he said, the answer that he said was just didn't make any sense. And that's why it kind of rambled off. And he's like, it seems kind of elusive. Like, and then he's like, I probably shouldn't have said that. It's
no,
kind
I
of
think
the
he
sense
probably thinks that it made sense.
Huh. Maybe.
I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head.
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head.
and make it. I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control. So we decided to shave her head off and let it go back long, and she shaved her head to so she wouldn't feel bad. And but
So if Summer shaved her head because she wanted to, and she shaved her head because she was a tomboy and she saw the boys do it, why is Candace shaving her head so she don't feel bad? That doesn't sounds like there's a line about that.
That's why I'm like, ding, ding. So over here, this is so interesting because when I brought it up the very first time we talked about this, I said, why do I feel like they shaved her head to make her less attractive to somebody? So, or less like a girl. And she just said that she wanted to be like her brothers. And I also think the last time somebody said to me, but no, they had lice.
Right.
And that's why they did it. But they didn't mention lice here.
They didn't.
They said that she wanted to look like her brothers. And the mom said she shaved her head. So I'm telling you, you guys, I got that gut feeling in the beginning. And now I feel even more like that. I feel like that was to make her less attractive to someone. I don't know who yet, but to someone.
You know, Dr. Vona, you have a good point because they said she wanted to be like her brothers. Yet in another interview, if you recall, Don said he loved beautiful women, like the church lady. I can't believe I can't remember her name. Wow. Do you remember her name, Dan?
I don't remember her name, but I know who you're talking about.
The long blonde hair church lady. So if she loves women with long blonde hair, why is she going to want to look more like the boys?
Oh, yeah, no.
And he said she liked to look like princess. She was like a little princess. So yeah, you're right. I think you've nailed it.
And I wouldn't say that every little, like, you know, not all little girls. Some little girls might want to cut their hair. My daughter, Gianna, wanted to look like Kaniki from Greece. The one time my husband and I, we went out to dinner, we were gone 10 minutes and we got a phone call. In 10 minutes, she was able to get the scissors and cut her entire hair. Like her hair was real long, cut the whole thing and left like one piece here. And she thought she looked amazing. So I can't say that a kid wouldn't want to cut their hair. And she didn't even regret it the next day. I was like, she's going to regret this. And she didn't. So some kids do that. But the difference here is Gianna did it to herself to look like a character in her favorite movie that she watched daily, where over here Candace did it. So that's like different. I didn't cut my daughter's hair. She cut her own hair. How do we, I don't know. I don't, and when you say it, it's not like, it's like completely uneven and stuff. Like, I feel like it's not even, like they didn't even use like a comb to make sure it's even. It's all jagged and stuff. So I feel like it doesn't even look like her brothers. I mean, she does look like she could be a boy or a girl, but I mean, even more so, I feel like it just takes, when she has longer hair, if the dad said that, that's a huge red flag. Let me just leave it at that. About the beautiful women.
Yeah. Oh, he said some weird things. There's some weird things have come out about women in his past. We'll get to that interview though. I want to say thank you, Kel.
Robin.
Thank you, Kel, for gifting the Drunk Turkey Show membership. Guys, if you want to join our Discord, you got to be a member. So hit the join button. After the show, I'll put the Discord link for the new members. Go check it out. We have daily conversations about so many things you don't want to miss. So if you want to be part of the conversation, hit the join member. Also, hit the like button, guys, and hit the subscribe button while you're at it. I don't know what's going on with my
bother at this point. Well, I knew right away that she was abducted. You know, I knew that right away, and that's what I told them from the beginning. But they have to go through their, you know, I forget the word.
Investigation.
They have to do one step at a time, I guess. But I'm sorry that they had to spend so many man hours in these woods and everything. I've seen them limping and everything else, you know. And I feel.
What do you think about that, Dr. Vona? That he was, he knew that she was abducted right away.
I think that's straight. Again, it's very definitive language. So that's always like a red flag to me. It's not like, I don't know where she could be. Like, I don't know. Did she get lost? Is she okay? Like, but the fact that it's like, you go right to something, that was always red flag to me. I don't, but then again, I hope to God I'd never be in that situation to find out. I wonder what other people think in chat. Is that what they would have gone to right away? I would have thought like she got lost.
Well, he also has said, and I think he said to me directly when we were talking recently, I think I told you we had a few chat messages, and one of the things he has said publicly, and he said to me directly again, is he had this sort of like religious thing, a religious experience. And one of the things before Summer disappeared that he said he got was, I don't know if he called it a vision, but it was sort of like he knew something was going to happen to her. He knew something was going to happen to her. I don't know how to take that. So he claimed when she did disappear, he's like, all right, it happened. She's gone. There's no use searching. But the other piece of what he just said that bothers me a little now that I've actually had the experience a number of times of searching for missing people and talking to families is I have never heard them say, I'm so sorry you have to search for my loved one. There's no hope. Why are you searching? Like, I've never heard one family member.
I can't believe I didn't know he said that.
It's usually thank you for searching, and that's it. You know what I mean? It is.
And I think like Seth, right? Seth, he's like, I'll search for the rest of my life. Like, you don't say like, oh, there's no hope. I didn't even know he said that. That's a huge red flag. I need to like get myself a red flag to just like throw them
hold it up.
There's so many of them.
To play devil's advocate. To play devil's advocate, and I completely agree with you guys. I think that I think I even told Ryan, like, I had to pick my jaw off the floor when he said that he knew in that one picture of a couple of weeks prior to that his time was short with her.
Yeah.
You know, that gut feeling people get, and people say, oh, that gut feeling I had, I should have listened to it and whatnot. What that is mostly it's like your subconscious. You're picking up things, and you may say, oh, that's nothing, but subconsciously it sticks with you, and you start picking up on things, and that's your body telling you, your intuition, so to speak. If this guy was like living around a bunch of shady people, and he himself was doing some shady things, maybe perhaps with drugs and things of that nature, putting himself in a susceptible position for his family to be taken advantage of due to having maybe perhaps, like I said, having people in the wrong, maybe perhaps the wrong people around him, if they are doing drugs or things of that nature, having, those drug dealers and drug folks coming back and forth, things like that. Is it possible that that's what his gut feeling was? It was more his intuition kicking in because he was subconsciously aware of the danger he was putting his family in?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm glad that we're playing devil's advocate here, but I don't think so, honestly. But that's just my opinion. That's like what my gut tells me. But because this is my thing, you usually, if somebody, no, I feel like you would try to distance yourself from that, right? Like, I don't know though. Because I didn't put my kids in a, like, you know what I mean? So I really don't know because I haven't done something like this to where I'd look back and be like, oh, it had to be me. But I don't get that from this guy. He seems like he's very self-centered or self-focused, and that he probably wouldn't want to. I don't know that he's very like, what do you think, Rye? You know this better than I do. Like,
sorry, I'm on the fence. I agree with when you speak. I'm like, yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. And then, but when Dan brings up the point of his past, he does have, Rose got disappeared previously in the history of this family. So he's got already someone who disappeared, and maybe that, I don't know if.
Wait, can you tell people who Rose? That was his daughter, right?
Rose Bly, no, she was Candace's sister. You guys help me out here. I believe Candace's sister who disappeared in Wisconsin. So
that's right.
He had issues with, I think she was married, and there was some domestic issues. She just disappeared off the face of the planet. The grandmother apparently went up and searched for her, but that happened to this family previously. Someone went missing, and Candace's sister. Thank you, you guys. So I don't know. What do you think? If there's a family history of like bad things happening like this, would that trauma play into his mentality? Like, my life is all drama. Something's bound to happen eventually.
That could be for somebody, but that is not what I get from him.
Really?
Does anybody in like chat, and the people in chat probably know this case better than me too, but I don't know what other people get. I'm interested to see. Like, I wish there was a whole group poll we could like do somehow, but just if people put it in chat, I could say it. But I'm wondering what other people think. Like, do they think that this is something that, because in order for him to do that, then he would have to have insight, guilt, remorse, like all these emotions that I just, in my opinion, I don't see. I'm not diagnosing anything. I'm just saying, as far as human behavior, his words and his actions don't always go together.
Interesting.
Well, let's continue this. Sorry, but my camera, I'm having to use my other camera. My regular camera just died on me. So I'm back now. But all right, let's continue this.
I just wish there was a way that neighbors could search neighbors' houses, and then if they're not willing, get a search warrant or something. But there's just no way you can search every single house.
Was there somebody who that didn't allow them to search their property? Because it sounds like he's saying that here.
There's a lot of, this is the holler, and from what I've learned talking with folks around there, there's a lot of sensitivity. So the sheriff, Hawkins County Sheriff, did not like, from what I've heard, there was a lot of searches in a lot of backyards and a lot of areas where there's private property, and let's just say that people have activities they don't exactly want the feds or searchers stumbling across out in the woods. And so, the sheriff was like, I don't really want a whole bunch of people going across my community's properties. They put a call out for people to search their own properties. But how many of them are actually going to do that?
And that's self-right. That's going by what they say and whether they did it. I do think it's interesting. So Luca Squirrel wrote something that I think is what I was trying to say. So she says, if it was a trauma response, I would expect hypervigilance, not self-fulfilling prophecy. So that's what I was trying to say. And my ADHD is that's exactly what I was trying to say. So you would think of more hypervigilance, not self-fulfilling prophecy. And I agree with that at Luca Squirrel.
And as far as the searchers, I do know that Dave Rader has told people during the searches, especially at the end, they were watched very closely where they went and how they searched, to the point where it became almost like weird. Like there were Hawkins County law enforcement folks who were following them, watching them closely, sort of like, so it's like, I don't know that they were really allowed to go just anywhere willy-nilly that they wanted to search for summer in this community. So I'm not sure how thorough, how many places didn't actually get searched.
That's interesting.
That is.
In the eastern United States or whatever. But I wish there was a way. Just thankful for the persons that's doing that, out of love, trying to get information and trying to get her found. We thank them from the bottom of our hearts.
It means a lot.
And we thank everybody who's trying so hard and praying so hard. And she's an awesome young lady, and we just want her back.
I will say this about Candace is that her face does not appear that she's under the influence. I don't see any redness to her, things of that nature that you would normally see. She although her speech was a little bit off in the beginning, I don't know. But then again, that could be the like an anxiety.
I was going to say, if God forbid I'd ever be in that situation, I hope never, I would need something for anxiety. So that's probably, if that is what it is, that's probably what we're saying.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think this is like something harder.
If you look at her face right now, does it change throughout this interview? And I keep going back to this, Dr. Vona, and I'm no expert, obviously, but there's no emotion.
She has a flat affect.
Yeah. And I feel like that's got to mean something. People keep saying she's on something, but if she's not, then it's got to be a personality thing or a mental thing.
Or it could be her. It could be like a state of denial still. I don't know how soon after this was. Like this interview.
Yeah, I believe this was pretty soon. Of course, a lot of people here.
She could have still been in like that denial or, and depressed. Like she could be feeling the outcomes of this. I do have a question though, because I feel like like, especially as a mom, like my heartstrings get pulled when you watch this, but then I have to like bring myself back to what are the facts and things that we know. I need to find out if this is real or not. Did Candace, did she have a kid that she like abused allegedly?
They got cleared. They got DCS dropped those.
Like an older kid.
Oh, in her past, not the boys you're talking about, but in her past?
No, before.
She lost her children. She lost some children previously.
So I think we should look it up, Ryan. You need to look that up for yourself. So look up her older children and find out why she lost them and see, because allegedly she allegedly, and again, but I heard this on more than one channel, but apparently she abused her son so bad that it was like bad. So if that's the truth and somebody could do that, what else are they possible of? And I don't know that that's true. So I'm asking you if you could help me look that up to find out if it is, or if somebody in the chat knows how we could figure that out quickly. But if that's the case, then I could not put my hands on my kids like that. Like, I don't care how mad I am. I just couldn't hurt them.
So some people are saying 7 kids. I know she definitely lost. Okay, so Nana for Life would know. She knew them very well. And she said,
Nana for Life, does she have it? Did she? Oh, please.
She said 2 children taken, at least two children taken.
So of the 2 taken, does she know if one of them was taken for extreme physical?
I heard she hit her son with well, that's a rumor. I don't know. I don't like when things
Oh, see, somebody else said causing brain damage. I'm telling you, I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah, I'm interested to see what Nana says.
I have heard about the son she hit that is now
You did hear about that.
From another daughter who came out very early on in the case. I heard about that, and she said the son is now disabled because of it.
People are saying yes. Oldest son, Andrew.
Yeah.
You see, like one of the things, one of the sayings or one of the mottos I have is like, when you do crappy things, or I'll say when shitty people do shitty things happen, and they continue to happen. And in this scenario here, if you have some folks who are putting their kids in some obvious danger, whether they were specifically responsible, for their disappearance, I think they have some culpability here. They're responsible for their kids' well-being and their safety, and it just kind of seems like there's a history here of not putting their kids first at the very least. And I don't know. I mean,
I suspect that it's because, and this is just my opinion, that we would find that Candace also has trauma like this in her past, something that makes this more normalized than it would be for somebody else, if that makes sense. It's not normal. I'm saying normalized to her.
Right. It's all weird. It's all weird, but there's a lot of smoke here.
She had a baby taken at birth. I don't know if people realize, you have to, there has to be some serious allegations against you for someone to take your baby at birth.
Which felt probably drug related.
Yeah, but even with that, I feel like even with that, they still want to keep mom and the baby united, and they'll give the mom
time to recover.
Yeah.
It depends. I know in some places, like in Texas, if they were to test the baby for narcotics and baby tests dirty, they will take the baby away from mom and dad. And so if they come back, at birth, even if they're at birth, meaning that mom was using while incubating, so to speak, while pregnant. So
which then means that the baby's born addicted.
Correct. And so they pull and I'm not saying that's what happened with Candace. I don't know why.
No,
that's one of the main. Yeah, that's one of the big things. Like if a baby's taken away at birth, it's usually because of that, or they're incarcerated. Or probably a few other things, but
there definitely is a history there with Candace. When she speaks, you can see she seems very. Would you think that she could be violent? When you see her,
that's what I mean. No, but most violent people, or people that can do these things, they usually look like the next person or the person next door, which is why I'm saying we have to remember the facts. So even though it pulls on our heartstrings, if these allegations, any of them are true, I mean, and there's a lot of them against her. So even if only 3 of the 10 are true type thing, like that's still, it says that you've been able to do some terrible things in your past for other reasons. Why wouldn't you?
No, I mean, even in Tennessee, there's a record of disorderly conduct, and this is in 2021. So that she has things that she's done, but
Disorderly conduct, though, I feel like anybody could get that.
yeah, I mean, that could be
somebody just having a good night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They took a dare, got in trouble,
right.
got caught.
Right. But the history with the children, though,
That is the problem.
You can't deny that. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to move over to the next interview just because that one was kind of giving us a little bit of fits. This is from the behavioral panel, and this is specifically Don Wells's interview. Oh, that's really loud whistle. I wish I could fast forward it 10 seconds. Oh, geez. That was loud. I feel like I just got hit by
Published the #1 best-selling book on persuasion, influence, and behavior profiling, and I train people in those things today. Greg?
I'm Greg Hartley. I'm a former Army interrogator, interrogation instructor, resistance to interrogation instructor. Written 10 books on body language and behavior, put together this #1 body language tactics.
We're the only 2 of us that were able to make it up there for the interview. So we sat down, prepared for this in advance, and made sure the questioning was on point, and on the interrogation or interview, whatever you want to call it, maybe a tactical interview, was going to go really well. Greg?
Yeah, so what you're going to see here is not an interrogation like the police would do to get a confession, nor is this a TV interview. This is something very different. We want you to pay attention to it. We call it an investigative interview.
So they actually kind of talk about it a little bit before that. I may have fast forwarded, but they talk about this investigative interview of being a tactic of an interrogation where the suspect doesn't know you're interrogating them. I talk about this a lot with the Jack and Lily case, where I talk about Daniel Martell and his experience with law enforcement and the things that he has told me that law enforcement has told him, and their communication, and all of it screams that they're talking to him as if they were suspecting him of something. And then early on in that case, they sure as hell were, as I'm sure everybody was. Everybody was a suspect until, obviously the evidence and everything started to come in, and then that started to change. RCMP have come out with their thoughts on it, and they've even come out with a more recent thing, again, saying that they don't believe that the parents did anything. Anyways, at one point, though, they thought he was suspect #1. Malaya was suspect #1. And certain questions, like he comes out when he says something about the blanket being planted. Now, they come out saying there's no evidence of a criminal offense, no evidence of saying that there's anything criminally that occurred for them to even create a criminal investigation. But at one point, when Daniel asked them if the blanket was planted, they told him yes. And I've often been saying this multiple times, that is a tactic. If my #1 suspect came in and asked the question if something was planted, whether I thought it was planted or not, my answer is 100% going to be yes. Tell me about it. What makes you think it's planted? Why do you think it's planted? I'm going to try to figure out more information and get the guy talking. He talks about his experience with law enforcement being one that's not being grilled, that they joke with him, that they've taken him on a ride and turn on the lights and kind of got him excited about those things. That's all playing into getting him on their side to get him talking. And there's one thing about Daniel that I know is the guy likes to talk, and he talks a lot, and he talks to RCMP quite a bit. And so that is a tool that they use, and they were going to use this against Don, where they're not going to necessarily, I guess, come at him, because then you're going to get somebody to shut down. That's kind of like what happened to Candace. She felt like she was being interrogated. She felt like they were coming after her, and she shut down. And so, everybody's different. Some people, you need to go at them like that so that you can get them to explode back, especially if you have somebody with a personality of emotion, somebody who doesn't think before they speak. If you can rile them up and get them to say something without them thinking about it and slip something, then, that's the approach you need to take. But in many cases, you're not going to get through to somebody, especially right away, if you go in there start yelling at them. Like nobody's going to open up to that. And so I just wanted to kind of explain that here. What do you guys think about that approach, Dr. Vona? What are your thoughts?
Bryan, you go first. I don't know what my thoughts are on that yet. I'm still like thinking about that. Bryan, what do you think?
I've got a little bit of background that may help you with your answer too. So listening to Dan talk, I'm realizing there are stories I've heard, and I think Jody Sue Brown, one of the neighbors, was on the hill that day, was on Ben Hill, and she told this story, and other people have told this story, that the police immediately started grilling the Wells, saying they believe that they were involved in the disappearance, like so hard that was allegedly one of the reasons Candace was so upset when they took her in for a polygraph and she couldn't complete the first polygraph. So, and that set that aside, they started grilling the parents immediately, accusing them, if you believe the stories of people who were witnesses. Dan, would they use alcohol? Would they give someone alcohol to get them talking? I'm curious.
Oh, no, okay. That's a big no. You can't do that. Okay. You're not supposed to. If somebody's under the influence of something, and you suspect them to be under the influence of something, you shouldn't really be talking to them.
Okay, because there was this crazy story at one point, and people who have been on the case since day one, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard something at one point. They claimed that they were actually given, I think, alcohol at the end of that night during that time period. And so I was curious if that would be used, but you're right. I mean, then you're messing with their cognitive abilities, and then their answers couldn't be used in court anyway, right?
Yeah, if you got something out of them at that point, man, you're gonna lose it. Like, let's just say they come out and they say, yeah, her body's over there, and they go over there, they dig it up, and then they get a good lawyer. Then the fruit of the poisonous tree, because of them getting intoxicated to get that information, now the body's thrown out too, and everything found behind it. So yeah, that would not fly.
But I do know they were definitely grilled. They were gone after by law enforcement. Yeah, from day one.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of like in the Bryan Kohberger case. Everybody looks at some of the victims in that case, especially the young ladies, and I know that some of their audio that's come out, the interviews, they're not getting grilled to the point where somebody's yelling at them and screaming at them, but they're being asked multiple times the same question over and over again. That's a form of interrogation. And so they were treating them as suspects, but also handling them with the knowledge of being, hey, if these folks aren't, involved in this crime, if they go hard at them, I mean, now you're attacking them and re-victimizing them all over again. And so the approach has to be unique to every situation. It can never be the same because every situation is different. Every situation is unique. No two people are the same. No two people's backstory is the same. So
I think that it's helpful to look on all different angles, but I think it's just as much as behavior analyst is important. So are things like that deception detective where he takes your words and look. So I think there's many angles, especially in a case where we don't have the answer, right? It doesn't hurt to look at all the different angles, but I wonder how much, when you put, stock into these resources, not even financially, just even mentally, I wonder, does that then bias the way people are thinking? In other words, if we watch what they say, and we're and they say whatever, this or that. And we're oh, definitely. Like Ryan was saying, when I say something and he's yeah, that makes so much sense. But then you'll say something and he's yeah, that makes so much sense. So could that bias, is it a good thing? You would think in one sense, it's a good thing to do all these different things. And then on the other sense, could it cause more confusion? What do you think, Dan?
What do you mean? I'm a little bit lost in your question.
I know I didn't explain it. So we're looking at the Behavior Bureau. If you look at Deception Detective, we have his stuff on this. So there's all these different angles. I'm weighing in on it. Dr. Phil weighed in on it. You weighed in on it. Ryan. So we have all these things. And I wonder sometimes, I think it's great because we're trying to, leave no stone unturned. Could it also though, because now we have the Behavior Bureau and these are world renowned people. So they're not just me or you or Ryan. They're everybody in the world. Most people know who these are. So when we have somebody like this, if they said, and I don't know what they say, but let's say they said, oh, we found nothing at all. But then could that make like investigators back off? And then could they be wrong? Like, I wonder how much this, like the result of this would bias an investigator's thought process, or are they not even watching this?
I was gonna say investigators probably are not watching
They're
this,
not even
but
watching
I would take the word of the behavioral panel like this, well renowned, over like Dr. Phil or anybody else on YouTube, because of two different things, right? So one, the behavioral panel, these guys here, well renowned, their accuracy is important to them, and that's a part of their credibility to be accurate. And in other places, being, you know, the aha moment for clicks and views is what they're looking for, you know, finding out something that nobody else has found out, being that special detective that can solve the case that nobody else can solve. You know, that often comes in quite a bit in true crime. I see that often where even YouTubers like ourselves think we are on the case trying to solve it, and that's nowhere near accurate. We aren't. At best, we're commentaries, you know, where we're commentating on what the information is that's coming out and giving our opinions. And so so with that being said, I would 100% take the word of somebody who, if they're wrong, it affects them worse than somebody who, if they're wrong, it doesn't matter. But if they're right, you know, it increases their popularity. And that's what they're looking for, is that taboo, you know, somebody found something that nobody else was looking for. I did it. Nobody else could do it. But somebody like this, it's important for them to be accurate. It's important for them to be right. It's more important for them, for the livelihood, for their career, for their profession, that they come out and give accurate information than it is to sway somebody based off of public opinion for clicks and views.
Makes sense.
Okay, so let's continue.
Right. All right. You guys ready?
I am ready.
Here we go.
What you're about to watch is an exploratory interview or a discovery interview. Scott and I went to talk to Don Wells with one purpose in mind. His stated purpose is well. That's to get as much information about Summer Wells out as possible. Again, this is not an interrogation. Interrogation means I have control over you. I can make you sit and do whatever I want you to do. This is an investigative or discovery interview. And if you watch, what we're going to do is we'll establish some rapport. We'll get the guy talking to us, and we'll get to a comfortable position where he talks. Now, what we're going to do here is show you the entire interview as it unfolded. What we're not going to do here is to analyze. We'll be back. We'll be back with future episodes where we analyze his baseline. We analyze any deviation from baseline, and we show you what we see and our opinions. And it will be all four of us. So hang in there. We just wanted you to see this interview as it unfolded. We got water because I need it.
So one quick thing, and I guess I passed forwarded, but this was Don asking for this interview to happen. He wanted to be interviewed by these individuals. I'm assuming this was after the Dr. Phil interview. And I'm assuming that's where they met. And so after, am I wrong? Am I right, Ryan? Is this after the Dr. Phil?
This is the full behavioral panel interview that they eventually talked about on the show. So
okay.
Walked out, so there wasn't really a full interview, but he did a full interview. And I will ask too, Dr. Vona, it's going to sound weird, but having talked to him in person, to Don in person, and seeing Candace's interviews, I know that you lean toward the side of Don has something to hide. Like, I think you're leaning more toward Dawn's.
I don't know that I think he has something to hide necessarily, like that led to her, but I think that there's like stuff that he has to hide just in general.
Okay.
So like whether he has something to do with it or not, I feel like there's like layers of deviant behavior.
Okay. I'm curious if this interview, because I've watched it, and I'm curious if this changes your opinion at all of that.
So I guess for me, I can't wait to see if it does. But for me, I think the big thing here is that I'm seeing like consistent patterns over time. So even if he had nothing to do with it at the end of the day, there's still a ton of abnormal deviant behavior here. I mean, people said that they took shower. Like it's like one thing after another. It's not just one or two little things. There's like a lot of abnormal behavior. So I'm just saying what I'm seeing pattern wise.
I misunderstood you. I misunderstood you. I thought all of those comments you're saying were directly related to Summer's
I'm
case.
so glad but
Okay.
that means that there's a ton of other people that thought that same thing.
Yep.
So I'm so glad that you just said that, because I'm glad that I was able to clear that up.
I understand what you're saying now. It makes perfect sense.
All right, let's see what he has to say.
Boys.
Yeah. So
I'm trying. I mean, I've been through a lot of trauma when I was younger, and so I've had a lot of problem dealing with that kind of stuff, feeling less than human kind of thing most of my life, you know.
And Don, I think the piece that
So real quick, Dr. Vona, he starts off with the like feel sorry for me type of attitude. You know, I've had trauma, I've been dealing with this, been treated less than human most of my life. What do you think he's trying to gain from this? Like, what is he trying to gain from gaining sympathy out of this?
So I think if this was after the Dr. Phil, we watched the Dr. Phil one last time. And if you guys remember, towards the end of the Dr. Phil one, like in the beginning, Dr. Phil seemed like he was more, on their side. And then he goes on to like get a little bit more, not accusatory, but he starts like digging more. And I'm not diagnosing anyone, but if Don is somebody that has like an antisocial type personality, he might have seen that almost as like, you have to remember somebody with, and again, I don't know that he does, but he definitely has a lot of the behaviors that we say there. But if he did, then he would feel confident that if he could just talk to you outside of there, like give me another chance for me to remind you of why I'm innocent in this case. And by starting out with the trauma thing, I think he knows that they're intellectuals, and that by saying a buzzword like trauma, maybe he pulls on their heartstrings a little bit. Like, I'm a human just like you. I have trauma. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a way to like take the gloves off type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes sense.
you want people to get is that you want people to know who you are, because the way we talk is, I always say, you'll hear me say, we are what we come from and what's made us successful to now. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I mean, a little bit about me. Yeah. I was pretty much raised up in the county jails and prisons and stuff like that. That's where I come from. And I feel like he really,
I don't know what happened to the audio there, but he said he was raised up in the prisons and in jail. I'm assuming that he's had an extensive criminal history. Is that correct, Bryan?
He does, yes.
Well, he probably then does have an antisocial personality. And again, I'm not diagnosing, but antisocial, let's say traits. Let me call it traits that nobody can say I'm diagnosing. But then there probably are antisocial traits if he has like a repeated history of criminality.
Well, doesn't it depend on the history? Like he explained at one point, some folks jumped him, he pulled a gun, he got arrested for that.
Oh, Ryan, if you're a narcissist, right, it's everybody else's fault. It is never your fault. If it's not someone else's fault, it's something's fault. So it was like I tripped over, you know what I mean? I tripped over the dog toy. So it's like there's always something. So that wouldn't surprise me if he was able to rewrite his entire criminal history to make it look like he was the victim or in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh my gosh, I'm so okay. One thing that will confirm what you just said, and he'll probably kill me for saying this, but that's okay because I don't care. I'm based on truth here. The whole thing came out about some stuff that happened years and years and years ago with his sisters, stepsisters. They're not directly related. So, but she accused him of, some not direct SA, but that kind of behavior with siblings, And I did ask about it because I'm like, dude, there's some stuff in your past. And he did exactly what you said.
But he blamed other people?
Well, not directly blamed, but he kind of said, hey, they had past trauma. They were weird about that kind of stuff. And it was this weird thing. So it wasn't blaming them directly, but it was sort of saying, hey, it wasn't really my fault fully. It wasn't fully my fault.
Oh, it ain't my fault. Did I do that?
So yeah, I think you nailed that one too, as far as personality goes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think he thinks that like, oh, wait, look, you paused it on the tongue.
He does that a lot then, doesn't he? Could that be just a thing that he does?
But I don't see it. And there's like when he does the interview of him and his son and he's standing there with his hand on his son's shoulder, like I don't see it there. There was like quite a few interviews that I didn't see it, which always makes me think, are they nervous of the person that's interviewing them in that moment? Like, so do they put Like I say with Daniel, with your interview, I see it. I don't see him do it with other people in interviews, but I see it even do it when you're talking to him. So I'm wondering, like, does he put you in a different light where he's more intimidated or feels like you'll hold him more accountable than maybe somebody else would? So is that same thing happening here? And then does that add anxiety, which then could add this tongue thing? So it could be that, or it could be like some people would say that you're taking back whatever it is you just said. So it could be either or, a little bit of both. But I don't see it all the time.
Interesting. Well, keep an eye out. See how many times he does it here.
Well, so we'll have to cancel out the tongue as the baseline. Tongue is not baseline.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
Okay.
It's hard to believe you find love in a place like that, but I did, and people that had respect, and I found brotherhood, and people that very few, but there's a few that want to read scriptures and do the same kind of thing, and tried to get away from this kind of life and go to a godly kind of life. But there are a few, very few though.
Right.
It's tough. It's really hard. When you can find that, it changes everything.
Yes.
Forever.
Changing my life
Forever.
for sure.
So how long ago was that?
Well, it's been a long time since I've been in trouble, but I've seeked out churches and stuff that like the Seventh Day Adventist.
I know I've heard you say you lived in Utah, and there's a different animal out there.
Yes.
So did you deal with the Zion Curtain and all that?
Oh man, yeah. If you're a Mormon out there, you're fine. But if you're anti-Mormon, the Board of Pardons in Utah is almost all Mormon.
So if you're in jail there, you're
the Board of Pardons. Well,
and I think just living there. But where'd you live?
Ogden, Roy area.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Pretty area.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I miss it.
Yeah.
So I mean, what I think is good is to talk a little bit about your background, and I don't mean talk about where you lived and where you were, and because that gives people your speech patterns, what's made you, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I always had really good jobs out there and stuff. But for whatever reason, my parole officers, they never liked me. I had a job at Hill Air Force Base at one time, making really good money, had security.
For some reason, my parole officers, they never liked me.
That's what I was just about to say. I was like, what do you think about that statement there, Dr. Vona, that his parole officer never liked him?
It says that he's about to set us up for something. Like he's setting us up and he's about to tee off. And so I wanted to see what he says next. That's his way of saying whatever he's about to say. It wasn't his fault. His parole officers didn't like him, so they had it in for him. So, you know what I mean? And that's what got him in trouble or whatever, because they had it in for him. So they called him down. We'll see. I'll say something like that.
Let's see what he says.
Clearance out there and everything. And they showed up out there 2 carloads deep. And my boss come to me, he's like, I can't use you no more, man. It was, and they got me fired. And that's the kind of
they got me fired, I told you.
I was in construction.
They did.
How did they get it?
YouTubers definitely got him fired. They were standing out there with bullhorns. This was Bullhorn Betty and a couple of others, and they were just protesting outside of where.
I thought he was talking about his past.
I thought he was talking about his parole officer. Got him.
Yeah, I thought he meant like in the past. I think he's talking about back in the day.
Yeah, my fault. I'm mixing things up.
Yeah, but do you see what I mean? So it's like the parole officers and all, like they got me fired. They have it out for me. He goes right into what I said he was gonna.
Parole officers don't care about people. I mean, they're just there to do their job, right, Dan? I mean, they don't have any. Maybe some of them hate their folks that.
What are they doing? Why are they showing up with 2 cars deep full of officers at his job? I mean, they don't just do that just to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, what was the accusation? What was the thought process? And I'm one that says, all right, there's an accusation, there's an investigation, and there's a result. So, just because there's an accusation doesn't mean that there was something that came out of it, or that it was real or whatever. Anybody can accuse anybody of anything. But to roll up in the manner that he said, with like 2 cars deep and check the place, it seemed like, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that?
Because they wanted to get me fired because they just didn't like me.
So we're just gonna
and
raid his job.
He says it real like he's real like fragile.
I mean, I've heard of cases like that, haven't you, Dan? Where you have communities where there's a law enforcement officer who has a tiff with someone in the community multiple times and starts to target them. People get pulled over for ridiculous reasons because all of a sudden you've got law enforcement officers who are like, I know that guy. He's a troublemaker. I'm going to keep on pulling him over.
Yeah, but this is a parole officer.
That is true. That can happen. You're absolutely right. And
think of all the paperwork that a parole officer would have to do. Like, so to take on, like, they don't usually, I don't know if it's just because I'm in Philly, like, and maybe they have just so many cases per parole officer. Like, you just have to, like, there's tons of people that I know that have been on parole. So, like, you just have to go and you have to make sure that you do A, B, C, and D, and then they leave you alone. So my thing was, he wasn't doing A, B, C, and D for them if they were looking out for him to begin with.
The only thing about that is that the area that he's in is more rural.
Yeah.
And so, like, in rural areas, you'll see where, like, like there's been several firefighters who've gotten in trouble over the years because there's nothing to do, so they go set fires on their own.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just so they can go and take them out. And so in this
really
scenario,
antisocial thing to do too, just so you know.
yeah. So in this scenario, I wouldn't be surprised, like, if, like, yes, I've seen it. I've personally seen it where an officer takes, something personal or whatever, and every time that they see somebody or whatever the case may be, and they take advantage of whatever that may be going on. They'll pull them over for whatever reason just to check their vehicle. But even in those scenarios, like, I knew this one guy who had this one lady who had gotten pulled over several times and gotten arrested several times for drug possession, and she was kind of blaming that scenario. I was transporting her from the city jail to the county, and so that she can go get magistrated. And she's like, no, this guy just has it in for me, blah blah blah. And I was like, you know what, you might be right, and I think he did, but it's not like he was planning drugs or anything. I mean, if he was pulling her over every time he saw her for something that, one, if you didn't have the drugs on you, you wouldn't have gotten where you were at, even if he was just pulling you over for any little small infraction, but, yes, do those things happen? Yeah. Do they happen more so in a smaller town? Yeah. And does he live in a
small towns are wild, man. I've heard stories of the same family getting pulled over for tinted windows. First, the wife, I'm not gonna say who, it's around here, but the wife, the daughter, and multiple times, like, they do it in small towns. It's a weird thing. Like, sometimes there's that targeting. But someone made a comment.
Yeah, but isn't that too because the person's not doing what they're supposed to? So if I pull you over one time and I give you a ticket for your tint and you don't go get it done, and I see you again, I'm pulling you over again because now I feel like you disrespected me.
Yeah, I think it's more like someone in the family might have disrespected a cop at one point, and he's like, I'm going to get them. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even so much that. I mean, you used to call them all-stars. Those were people that were habitual offenders that continually did things. If you continually do things that are illegal and you become a problem, you're gonna make yourself known. You become if you become known to law enforcement on a first name basis.
Yeah.
I mean, are they gonna be, when they see you, are they gonna be looking at you to say, all right, is this guy doing something? What is he doing out here? Are they gonna follow you a little bit more because they have a history with you? Of course.
And Dan, like you said, if you didn't do anything, if you weren't doing anything wrong, you can follow me all you want. If I'm walking a straight line, then you're not going to find anything. So my thing is, he had to be doing something wrong when they came down to his job for him to get fired. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, I think that if there was a parole officer who had it in for him showing up and him going there more often than not, like, just to be a douche, just showing up once a month just to cause problems, I would say he might have a leg to stand there. But when he says that there was multiple agents and 2 vehicles showing up and he goes in there all scared, sounds like they were searching for something for some reason. That's all. That's what kind of hits my mind when I hear that. All righty, let's continue.
Yeah.
So were you working for a general contractor?
Yeah.
I've been in construction business recently.
Yeah.
I ran construction for a couple of years. So,
Yeah, just doing drywall, what I've always done.
Yeah.
Metal stud framing or whatever.
How long ago was that?
That was a long time ago. When I finally got out of that mess, I left the state as fast as I could.
Right.
I haven't been back.
Where'd you go from there?
I think I went to Arkansas. That's where I met my wife. And then my mom got sick, so we come out here. And,
Your mom lived here?
Yeah, she was sick, had MRSA. And so we come out here to try to help her, and she, died. And so, but she left us the property, but we've had 4 kids since then.
Yeah. How's your oldest?
12.
And Summer's your youngest?
Yes.
Do you have your kids back? I know you went through some trouble with that.
Well, it got real dangerous at our house because of, and I'm not using that for an excuse, but it did. It got real dangerous because of everything that was happening on YouTube and the psychics wanting to come on our property.
Yeah.
And we was telling them, no, you cannot come on our property.
How are they contacting you?
Through Facebook and stuff like that, whatever, and other people. The whole YouTube, Facebook thing was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Is there a problem with like psychics? he makes it seem like there was like these warlords and witches that showed up to his front yard, and
it almost makes me feel like he's like afraid of like if they're psychic, like what are they going to be able to, you know what I mean? It's almost like as if he's like, I don't want a psychic to show up on my property. Like, why? Who cares?
It's a weird thing. I don't get it.
Yeah, just let them show up. Who cares? Like if it's I don't know.
He
And did you
had
notice he said that I'm not trying to blame but so he does blame. So I don't know what he was blaming. I forget what it was for, but he definitely says the words, I don't mean to blame but
yeah.
He had bad experiences with psychics on the Summer Wells case at the beginning. I'm not going to say her name because we've had a bunch of drama recently, and it was not just her, but there were a lot of psychics who reached out, and he started working with them originally, but then after a while, he got to the point where he went against that. Now he's 100% again. So at the point of this interview, I'm not sure actually at the time of this interview if that had already all occurred, but I know he was in the middle of it with psychics on the Summer Wells case at this point of this interview. And I know when we got onto the case a couple years later, a year and a half later, he didn't want anything to do with psychics. He was like, they're evil. Don't let them come near me.
that makes me think that whoever it was said something that hit a nerve for him.
Well, I'll say 2 things on it. One, the first thing is the way he talks. It sounds like, a bunch of Jedis showing up in cloaks and stuff. The second thing is, though, he does come from he at least talks about coming from a religious presence or background, that it's a huge part of his life. And when you look at like psychics and stuff like that, from a religious aspect, and this is just from a religious aspect, a lot of people from a religious aspect say that you don't know who you're actually talking to. They may claim to be a person that's crossed over. They can claim to be this or that, but in reality, they're most likely a demon or the devil playing with you. And, they may kind of trick you into thinking that they're real by giving you some true answers or some real things. But in reality, what they're trying to do is manipulate you into eventually, turning.
Right. I need to push back on that a little bit. Not all psychics are bad people.
No, I'm not saying all. I'm saying that's from the religious aspect. If you look,
but there are psychics that are very religious too, and so they don't necessarily they're not necessarily trying to like do a Ouija board and get into spirit somewhere. They're talking to their own spirit guides for information. So it's like they're talking to their spirit guides who they believe in God and Jesus. And so I think that it depends on what type of psychic you're talking about, stuff like that. Right. Somebody in the chat thinks that he might have meant psychotics because he's talking about all the crazies on YouTube, but I don't know if he
No,
he really meant psychic. Okay. So I would just say this because there's a lot of psychics that I respect too. And I think that like there's all different types of psychics. You could go on the boardwalk and there's like a psychic there, like that's obviously fake. That's just on the boardwalk to get $1. But there's other psychics that like, I don't know. I know whether you believe or not that I've seen that I'm just like, well, they have some intuition, call it what you might, but I wouldn't say that the devil's coming in and tricking them. So I would just watch there. That's all.
Well, right. I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is from if you look at it from the point of religion, and I say this because I've talked to a lot of folks about this, that come from the religious aspect, and I've asked them why they're so against it and things like that. And that's the main thing that I get back is that and it's not uncommon for one religion or for one belief to think that another religion or another belief is completely either evil or wrong or whatever the case may be. That's not my standpoint. Me personally, I don't believe in psychics. I think I can convince a lot of people I'm psychic just because I can pick up on a lot of details about people and can deduce a lot of information fairly quickly and make people think. I mean, I called a lot of things in the Bryan Kohberger case to the point where, yeah, a lot of people were questioning it, but it had nothing to do with psychic ability. It
Yeah,
had
but that
everything
would
to do
be
with
different. Psychics don't just know information. So psychics aren't just like, oh, I think this is what's going to happen. Like so I think that the process of what they do is getting lost in what you're saying, and probably because you don't believe in it, you've never, like, you didn't look into it in that aspect. So I just don't want you to get psychic hate tomorrow for no reason, because I don't think you mean any disrespect by it. So I'm just trying to, like, you know what I mean? Because I don't think that, I think that if you saw the process and you saw how spiritual it was, that maybe the word psychic is just a bad word to put on it. Like, maybe it should be called something different, because it's a very spiritual thing. But I think that that's for, like, you know, the stream of psychics that I respect type thing. But again, we can't all agree on everything, right? That's why there's so many flavors of ice cream.
right.
I love
And I don't mean any disrespect to any psychic.
I
or
knew you
anything like
didn't, which
that.
is why I was trying to walk that back for you, because I'm like,
Right.
he does not mean that the way that just sounded.
Right. But I mean, I'll be honest, I don't believe in it. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, I don't believe in a lot of other things, but I don't hold anything against
You have a
anybody
right.
who does.
No, you have a right.
You know
to.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so to me, at the end of the day, like I said, I think I truly believe I could probably convince a lot of people I'm psychic based on just the power of deduction and picking up on some certain details and things of that nature of some folks. And, you know, some folks have told me, hey, give this person a chance, give that person a chance. I've gone and listened to it. And like a lot of the things, like there was one thing about, like in the Bryan Kohberger case, about people kept bringing up a pool party and this, that, and the third. The thing is, at the beginning of the Bryan Kohberger case, a lot of people were looking at Jack Cord. A lot of people were focusing in on his messages and his comments. And there was some comments that he made on Kaylee's pictures in bathing suits. And when I was going back and looking into what they were saying about the pool party and this and that, they were, you know, it was all alluding towards bathing suits and this, that, and somebody having nasty thoughts or comments. And it was just all basically because they saw the comments there. And then there was something about a gnome and something about a mountain. And that was just solely because if you went and looked at Bryan Kohberger's real estate home or whatever, if you looked at his home on realtor.com or whatever it was, there was a gnome and there was mountains in his basement. I saw all these things that people were trying to say that, oh, this is where this is at, or this is where that is at because of this or because of that, because of that. And because I had looked into most of these things already, I was able to determine where it was that these people were getting these ideas from. And when it comes to like psychic ability, like I think it's, you know, you got people that are looking into the case, they're thinking about it, they're getting information, they're all this stuff is happening, and obviously it's in their mind, and then they go and have a dream and think that it's some sort of psychic thing when it's just mainly their mind working it out.
Let's just agree to disagree here, because that's not how I just feel like if somebody like that really does have a gift of some sort, and again, it could be intuition. I have intuition. We all have intuition, and a true psychic would tell everybody that they all have what they have. So it's more about just being in touch with, like how you say you're psychic. That's an intuition, right? Like you might feel when your kid's sad, stuff like that. So anyway, I think we should move away from the psychic. I think that's the thing that we
Is
should
it
do
okay,
here. But
you guys? Is it okay if I just say one thing? Because
please.
I haven't weighed in on the psychic thing, and I love that, at least on my view, I'm in between you guys, and I love that I am because I'm literally in between you guys on this, and I've got a lot of insight in the Summer Wells case when it comes to psychics, because we first started with zero information from locals. We hadn't interviewed people, so we started entertaining psychic stuff on YouTube. I'd literally go to YouTube and look at a psychic channel on Summer and take what they said, and I'm like, okay, they're saying a location that's XYZ. And what you have to remember with the Summer Wells case is it's not just any case, it's in the Bible Belt. And we immediately saw comments from people who followed us locally, and they're like, what are you doing? This is evil. This is from the devil. That's why that comes up, Dr. Vona. Like, people in comments who are from the Bible Belt will say that. However, at the same time, I've told our channel, and they know this about us, we're open-minded. We will entertain certain people who seem to be credentialed, who now at this point, years later, if they've worked with law enforcement, if they have actually found people, we will work with them, because I'm open-minded. I'm kind of skeptical like Dan. I don't fully
You
believe,
should be skeptical.
but I'm open-minded. Like, I'll try it. Why not?
Yeah.
Why don't you try
That's
it?
how I feel.
Yeah.
There was this guy one time called the psychic taxi cab driver or something of that nature. And he had a show, and the guy would go on there and he would do psychic readings, talk about their family and all this other stuff. And people were saying he was a real deal. And he had a lot of powerful moments. It just really sucked when we found out that he was a fake and he was looking that information up.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You know, and
I think
profiting
that they're
off
the
of that.
things, and they're the things that like. So that's what I hate, though. It takes one bad experience to like ruin it for the rest of like, because there could be. This is what I will say though. Let me wrap this part up real quick, because let me tell you something. Don Wells right now is winning because he uses religion, in my opinion, for when it's convenient for him, and right now it has brought us away from this topic for a good 15 minutes. You see what I mean? So it's actually psychologically it worked. So he can use religion when it's convenient. And even how he brought up psychics. He's not an idiot, you guys. Like, he knows that by bringing that up and that people are going to be on YouTube, he says it, and that they're going to listen to everything. So I feel like he knows that he's throwing stuff out there that we're all going to react to, and we did. So that's the whole thing, is that we should move on from this, if anything, just so that he stops winning, because I feel like this is a tactic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I will let us move on, I promise, but there's two last points I'll make and I'm done. Okay.
Yeah.
For Dan, I will tell you, dude, I've communicated directly with law enforcement people who have done what you've done, and they just have this natural ability to see the truth in a case. And I call that intuition. You can call it whatever you want, gut instinct, which is probably what most cops call it. But I think most cops who end up becoming detectives have a natural ability, a natural intuition that they will not call psychic. They will not call it anything, but they have it. They have an ability to see through the fake crap, and they can see the path to the truth. And I think it's paranormal or whatever. I don't know. The other thing about what Don's saying here is, what's interesting is he is part of, and he's, again, he won't like that I say this, but he is part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. One thing that I've researched a lot in my past in paranormal stuff and all this type of stuff is that the Seventh-day Adventist Church is founded on a woman named Ellen G. White. They call her a prophet. Now, there's a fine line between prophet and psychic. Now, she's not Jesus. She's not, they call her a prophet. So who gets to decide if she's a prophet or a psychic? She's predicted the future. Ellen G. White founded that church. So I always find it interesting when a Seventh-day Adventist says that they don't like psychics, yet the church itself was based on someone who predicted the future. And that's all I'm going to say.
Which then tells me that that's why he got weirded out with the psychic thing, because he probably knows that in the back of his thought process. So then if a psychic, even if they said something a little bit that could have maybe been truth in his head, that could have scared him enough to be like, all right, I don't want them to go any further with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think you're right there with the intuition stuff, but I think that there's more of a thing grounded when it comes to what intuition is and things of that nature. Coming from somebody who's been able to deduce a lot of things, to me, I think it's just the ability to deduce a lot of information at one time. One of the things that I've noticed when it comes to like myself, when I'm looking at a problem that I think is a little bit different than what most people do, is that, for instance, something will happen. Like, there'll be a piece of information that pops up, and a lot of people will get an aha moment. Like, aha, that works, that fits, this makes sense, this is why this is what it works. The difference between them and I is that I will then try to fit that piece into multiple pieces and see if it still works. It's like, I've thought of one thing and then I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense, that works. But then I continue to think about it. I continue to work on the problem and I continue to do it. But when it comes to somebody that almost obsesses over that problem, I think that's when they become, to the point where they start thinking about every option that is possible and start deducing those possibilities in their mind, that it may be perceived as psychic when they start to get things right. And it's not because they are, perceiving something that nobody else can. It's just that they're going further into the problem than most, and
based on their
introducing that
intuition. So
information.
you're like proving what I'm saying, though. And I think we're all
Right.
saying, I think we all agree on the same thing. I think it's a matter of syntax. Like, I think
Yeah,
the
that's what
word
you call
psychic
it.
that you're thinking of is like,
I
is
just
like
don't think
the
anybody can
person-
see the future.
Yeah, that's what, and I don't think that I don't think that that's what they're trying to do. I think it's more about an intuition. But I don't think that I think that you have just as much intuition as a psychic does, is what I'm saying. I think we all have intuition. I know for a fact when I go into a room, I feel people's energy as far as like, I'm not saying I know their future, but I could be like, oh my God, are you all right? Like to a stranger, and they'll start crying and be like, how did you know? And I'm like, I don't know, I just felt it. So like that's all intuition. Or like if your kid comes in and you're like, oh my God, did somebody break up with you? Like you just know. And so that's what I mean by psychic. Psychic to me is intuition. So I'm not talking about somebody that like has a crystal ball and they're like, you're gonna hop on 1 foot in 10 minutes. Like not like that type thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
See,
think
for
we're,
me,
like, I think we all think the same, a lot more similar than I think
Right.
we do. It's a
I
matter
think
of
so too.
yeah, to me, I'm referring more to those that think they talk to the dead or
yeah,
talk
no, yeah, I got
to a
you.
static machine or
Oh, I don't
something
like
to that
that.
nature.
No. I don't
Yeah,
like the
you know,
static machine.
that's what I'm mainly referring to when it comes to this thing. But yeah, intuition is, I think
Yeah.
everybody has that. I mean, what was it? The Egyptians, the Eye of Ra, I think is what it was. The what is it called? There's this, and I'm blanking on it.
Or lost or something.
No, the third eye is.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember the dang name of it, but the Egyptians had like drawn about it, and they felt very strong about it being. And I think a lot of people think it's just more what is it, like hallucinogenic stuff, but they believed in it, so maybe
The Eye of
maybe.
Ra.
Yeah. But it was the pituitary gland or the pineal gland, something like that, some kind of gland.
Well, we all have that gland, right? So
Yeah, it's like in between your eyes or something like that in your head, somewhere around there. That's why it's called the third eye, and it's supposed to be responsible for, I guess, the sixth sense.
And when I'm talking about psychic, that's exactly what I mean. Is about that pineal gland and stuff. And
There you go. I think it's the pineal gland. Yeah.
Yep.
All right,
Yeah.
guys, let's continue this.
This is quite a conversation. Interesting.
It is.
Different kind of things. And then I found out, they were making all kinds of fake accounts and contacting people in Utah, and they were saying stuff back and forth. And probably a lot of stuff wasn't exactly true, or just making this whole thing keep going and going. And also it got pretty bad and scary for a long time.
That's tough. That's
quite a
tough. People
while.
you don't know showing up.
And there was some,
It's dangerous, actually.
it was dangerous, and I didn't want my boys there.
Yeah, you don't know who's coming up.
Right.
I live in the middle of nowhere for a reason.
Yeah.
How old are the boys?
Huh?
How old are the boys?
12, maybe 10, on down to 8, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're all, is Candace the mother?
Well, there's a gag order on the boys. I'm not supposed to talk about them.
Okay.
And they're in custody.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully they're okay, and you get to see
Yeah,
them.
they're fine.
Yeah, so you
That's
can,
I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. I went off the deep end. I
did it? Oh, I can totally
I
understand.
started drinking and other stuff and just lost it.
Well, I think it's
Drinking and other stuff. I think he just admitted that he was doing drugs.
Drugs?
Yep.
Yeah, drinking
Oh,
and
and
other stuff.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So,
Good catch.
he's I mean, but again, people lean on that when they go through a breakup. People lean on that when they go through a divorce. Losing a child, I don't see, so I don't see it abnormal for somebody to lean on drugs or alcohol as a crutch.
a hard thing to deal with. I feel
But I'm back on track. I mean, no
Did you get
drinking, no nothing.
Did you get a prescription or anything for some help to keep calm? And
No.
yeah.
No.
Okay. All right.
Nobody can make you feel better about what's going on, but
Right.
we want to make sure that you get whatever you want to say out today too. And I know people have asked you your whole stories and everything else. How long do you live where you're at now?
About 12 years.
Okay, so most of your kids were born here?
Well, Josie was born in Arkansas, and then we moved directly here.
Okay, so the rest of the kids are born here.
Yeah.
So that's their home. That's what they know.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough on someone
Yes.
for them to go to.
Yeah.
So, and I have no idea about your house or how it's set up or anything else. How do you get to your house?
How do you get my house?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean it from here. Don't give me directions. But I mean,
Right.
you're up a road somewhere. I know.
Yeah. I don't understand what you.
Yeah. So are you isolated? You can't really tell about pictures.
It seems isolated, but we do have neighbors, you know, and then you got the drug thing going on. And where we live at, you got certain groups of people, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but you got these boys, like those boys that are all related, and they think that they run everything. And a lot of people for years.
You're not going to mention names, but they're all related. Is he talking about Hills, Ryan?
He's not clear about it. He's not clear about who he's talking about. He's kind of insinuating.
I mean, everybody. That's the family that's there, and I mean, Fred had a history of selling drugs.
He's made it clear in other interviews he was talking about Fred. He even said in one interview he wanted to go over there and punch his lights out. So yeah, he's most likely talking about the Hill, Fred Hill, and the drug activity in the area.
Gotcha. That's what I thought. That was my psychicness. That was
there you go, intuition.
I thought the same thing, Keith.
We're all psychic today. You can call us Cleo.
Probably manufactured meth and other stuff like that, and they think that they are the Bloods and the Crips of the hillbillies.
Yeah, we have where I live. There's something very similar called the cornbread mafia.
Yeah, that runs from here to through Georgia.
Georgia.
Cornbread mafia.
And they take that name and that title very seriously.
Yeah.
So he says here they take that name and that title very seriously. I'm assuming this is after the other interview where they brought up the cornbread mafia to Candace and she kind of freaked out. Because it sounded like that was the first time they had ever heard it. So if that was the first time they heard it, then this interview was afterwards. He says here he takes that name very seriously. I thought he wasn't aware of him. In that the sense that we got, why would he take it so seriously if he was not aware of him?
Do you mind playing that again, Dan? That's a good point.
It seems isolated, but we do have neighbors, you know, and then you got the drug thing going on. And where we live at, you got certain groups of people, and I'm not going to mention them by name, but you got these boys, like those boys that are all related, and they think that they run everything. And a lot of people for years have run moonshine out there, probably manufactured meth and other stuff like that, and they think that they are the Bloods and the Crips of the hillbillies.
Yeah, we have where I live. There's something very similar called the cornbread mafia.
Yeah, that runs from here to through Georgia.
Georgia.
Cornbread mafia.
And they take that name and that title very seriously.
Well,
so I don't know if he's referring to them or if he's referring to, because it's sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes it seems like Don is answering a question that is not being presently answered. Maybe a question that was answered. He's still answering a question that was asked 2 questions before.
Yeah, right.
And so I don't know if
Ryan McLeod makes that point. He could be referring to the gangs, not specifically Cornbread Mafia, right?
Right. What do you think, Dr. Vona? Do you think he's referring to Cornbread Mafia, given what we saw as far as Candace's response to it, and then now he kind of acknowledges it a little bit, or do you think that he could still be just referring to the gangs in general?
I think that you picked up on something really interesting, that he's still answering questions from before. Even when he'll re-ask, like, so they said something like, is your house hard to get to? And he says, is my house hard to get to? So when we do that, it like buys us time to answer the question. I feel like he's in his own head because he thinks that these guys can see into what he's thinking as far as like for real, but like they could they have his number, if you will. I feel like an old lady just saying that, but you know what I mean, like, because they're professionals. So he probably feels that extra pressure, and so he's probably is thinking about his answers. However, somebody said in the chat that this was before Dr. Phil, which would be very interesting, because if this was before Dr. Phil, then they would have been bringing it up here for the first time. So that would mean it was the second time. That just, I don't know. Does that mean anything if this was before Dr. Phil to you guys, like it does to me? When I thought this was after Dr. Phil, I almost felt like he was doing this to as the next step, almost as if he felt like he was losing them. So he needed to reel them back in. But if this was before, then that would be different. Does anybody know for sure?
I don't know for sure if it came before or after when they talked to Candace and she walked out.
I wonder why she's not here.
Right.
It could be before, and that could be why they were like, because when they brought it up, their response was like, "And the cornbread mafia," and they kind of looked at him like, "What's your response going to be?" And maybe that's because of what Don said. Maybe Don didn't catch what they said about the cornbread mafia. He was still in his own head about the question before or something of that nature. And these guys are picking up on it that he mentioned them or knew them, and they brought it up to Candace. And I can see why they think that that's a big thing now. Because if this happened here, like in this manner where Don mentions, they mentioned cornbread mafia, and he's like, oh yeah, they're, by name, people respect that. And then Candace has that reaction after the fact. There's some dots that you can connect there that are pretty easily connectable. I'm not saying that they do connect, but I can see why some person might say that they do connect. What do you guys think about that?
There are rumors, and someone just mentioned in chat, there are rumors out there that it was drug related, and this was a retribution that was intended for someone else who was staying at the wells. I'm not going to say the name again because I actually got in trouble for saying the little girl's name who was there. I'm not going to say it again, but there is a lot of drugs in the area. There's a lot of groups that run, especially meth, and it's not just Rogersville. Kingsport has several gangs that run drugs, and they also drug young women and use them in prostitution. So this whole area, yes, it could be related. It could be drug related. In this case, when they mentioned cornbread mafia, it's almost like, I feel like Don almost didn't even hear what the heck they were saying. He's focused in on drugs and the rings that he's talking about. So when he responded again saying, yeah, I respect them. I respect that. I try not to mess with them. I feel like he's talking about the big picture. You know what I mean? All of the drugs in the area.
I agree with that.
I think so too.
So I do want to clarify. I thought that this was right before Dr. Phil. Apparently, this was in Tennessee, and then the one with Candace is out in California. So this was like all together a different day. So this took place first, which is interesting because he must have felt like this interview went well enough that he was willing to see them again in California.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I never saw this interview.
I mean, even though they may not, and this is for you, Dr. Vona, how can, like from his perspective, if so many people who have said so many negative things about him, and these people are at least of, the presence that they're giving to him, whether it's real or not, is that they're on his side. Could that be why he's so open to be interviewed with him?
Wait, what do you mean?
Because to him, he may think that because of what they said, Dr. Phil says, we don't believe he did anything. We don't believe he did anything. We know the timeline. Yes. Do you think that could have been what gave him the confidence? Because of everybody else's behavior towards him or thoughts of him, and these folks, at least in his mind, he may think they're on his side.
Absolutely. And I think that same thing happened to Candace. Remember when that interview, and she was like, and we said that it seemed like she was promised that, not that they were going to, I forget what the exact words were, and I don't want to misquote it, but do you guys remember? It was like Dr. Phil, like she almost felt like he said that she was getting interrogated. That's the word. She felt like she was getting interrogated, and she was like almost like promised that she wouldn't get interrogated, and that, was stressful. So absolutely. Yes. The answer, yes. Because we've seen it happen there too.
Yeah. I think so too.
We've always tried to stay away from that kind of activity and stuff, and stay in church and stuff like that, and stay positive. So I always felt like they look at us as a target. And we've had people steal our dogs and leave their nuts for as long as we've been there. We've had people come up and just take various things and steal our gas in the middle of the night or whatever. And there's only certain kind of people that are up all day at night and stuff like that.
And how close to you are they?
I say they're all the way around, but I don't know. I mean, I just know a few people,
See, based on his answers that he's continued, they're all around, this and that. I think he's more referring to the Hill or whatever he was talking to beforehand, whether it was the Hills or somebody else, the other hillbilly Bloods and Crips is what he described him as, more so than the cornbread mafia. And I think the interviewers are under the wrong impression that he's referring to the Cornbread Mafia folk, at least to some point, some part. That's kind of my interpretation so far.
Personally, but
Is it easy to just drive by your house, come by?
well, they have
keep
to go by
looking?
my house to get to one area.
Yeah. There's a lot of traffic out there.
Yeah, so when things are, when stuff's going on, there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah. How close is the house to the road?
Our house,
Yeah.
Van Hill's just down the driveway there, and then Beach Creek's out in front. But you'd have to go across the creek to get.
Do you think that from your door to the road is 100 feet, or is it 50 feet, or
150 feet?
I bet you're pretty good at guessing distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I mean, we can see all the, if you go to our front door or back door or whatever it is, we can see all the way down Beach Creek one end. And you can go to the other side of the house, you can see all the way down Beach Creek the other way. It goes along a hill.
Right.
So right there, his eyes like opened up really bright or really big, and then he had like this series of like blinking, like repeatedly blinking. Dr. Vona, does that mean anything to you?
Yes, I can't believe you just said that. I was going to say, did anybody notice you could see like the white around 3 parts of his eyes? Like usually we see the white on our inner eye and our outer eye. I don't know if you guys ever take notice, but if you look at a lot of the people that like we cover in true crime, if you look at their eyes up close, he has like, you could see the white, like a third part. So you see the white under the eye, but that's that big eye that you just noticed.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know.
The door to the road is 100 feet, or is it 50?
See,
150 feet.
his eyes widened up right there.
Mm-hmm.
Why during that topic though? That's weird. It's such an innocuous, innocent topic, like the distance of the road from the house. Why would he
Because
care?
it's probably something that he can answer truthfully too. Like they're just asking how many feet. So it's like, 150 feet. It's like he can engage in this because he knows the answer to this. He doesn't have to think of it.
Okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I mean, we can see all the, if you go to our front door,
So you see, I mean, there was this like blinking attack there.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was weird. Wonder why that made him. I don't know if that makes him uncomfortable or not. But
Yeah, I would have to keep looking to see.
back door or whatever it is, we can see all the way down Beach Creek one end, and you can go to the other side of the house, you can see all the way down Beach Creek the other way. It goes along a hill.
Right. So can you see cars coming and going?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And can they see up there easily, or is it?
Yeah.
So if you're coming up the hill, how long before you can see your house? Is it hidden from other people, or is it?
There's a lot of trees and shrubs.
What's that?
Blinking attack. Like what was that
His
all
blink
about?
rate is crazy. It's still going.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It's supposed to be a sign of deception, but I'm surprised the behavior panels. I mean, I don't know if they do, but if they usually would talk about that.
It seems, I mean, I was thinking maybe more on the lines of in this scenario, because I don't think he would be lying about the distance between, how far it is from his house or not. I think it's making him uncomfortable.
Yeah, I do too.
Why is it making him uncomfortable? Why is the distance between his house and that making him so uncomfortable? That's
I
the
think
question.
just the fact that they're asking the question the way they are, I think he's probably starting to feel interrogated a little bit.
Maybe because it has changed a little bit more direct.
Stuff like that, but in the wintertime when all the leaves fall, you can see pretty clearly. But right now it's more secluded. But
Have you ever had any scares before? I mean, around your kids and that kind of.
we've had people come up, and say, "Oh yeah, I was looking for my dog or my horse or, or various things before."
Was it children in the yard, or?
Yeah,
During that?
yeah, but people come up, on horses, all kinds of things,
When was the last time that happened?
You know what? Since summer's been gone, we haven't had nobody around there except for, we had that one incident with the red truck that got hung up on the ditch there. And there was actually, I asked the police if I could take pictures. He said, "No problem, Mr. Wells." And I was taking pictures of the side of that truck, and some woman popped her head out, and I was like, wow. And she just covered herself back up and laid back on her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when was the last time before summer was missing that you had people up at your place? That somebody showed up, you know what I mean?
I'm not sure. It's probably been a long time, so I can't really remember. But I'm always gone. I'm always working. And I don't know these people, but
Does Candace know them?
No. All I know is the people I work for, and they've become they're the only ones I know.
So is Candace there all day with the kids?
Well, if they weren't in school, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when we started getting involved in the Seventh-day Adventist, Robin and stuff would invite them to go do this and that.
Who's Robin?
She's the one that would hold summer in church all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So they was always running and doing things with the church whenever possible.
Yeah, other people from the church come over and help?
Yeah, David's been over a few times, our pastor. David Dotson's been over a couple times.
Does Dave ever babysit or anything?
No,
he just
no, nothing like that.
No.
Well, we let him take the boys to the putt-putt golf course when all this first happened.
Yeah.
You know, just to try to help us out and stuff.
How long have you known him?
Well, he come from another church, and he just kind of popped in and got to know Summer a little bit before she got gone, and but then he met some girl in some Baptist church and started going, I guess, to church with them.
So he would come over and hang out.
Before Summer got gone. That's an interesting line. But it's also could be just I guess talk from the area, you know, a common phrase.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that?
I think it's probably like a like local type. I don't think there was anything, you know, nefarious about it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it was more like the lingo of like, that's what it sounded like.
Lingo of the land. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too. What about you, Ryan? Is it somebody that's kind of somewhat from the area? Is that kind of like the lingo of the land?
That's exactly what they say. Yeah, they say "got gone" all the time. Do you guys know the background of the David Dotson stuff? Are you aware of that history? So he was part of the church, Seventh-day Adventist, along with Robin Lane, and a lot of videos came out of Summer in the services at the church, and they kept making a big deal about the fact that when they showed him trying to get Summer's attention, he was apparently friends of the family. They made a big deal about the fact that she looked very uncomfortable with him. And I'm assuming that's why they're bringing him up, because David Dotson was heavily looked at least by the YouTube community, as a potential suspect early on in this case.
Yeah. Well, everybody in the YouTube community is a suspect. The YouTube community, if your name pops up, I mean, you're going to be suspect number one eventually at some point.
Well, he was there. I'll be honest with you guys. Robin Lane, and they were called. So Candace, right after someone went missing, she tried to call Robin, because Robin obviously was very close to Summer. They were involved in the church, and one of the first people, and I don't understand why she would call Robin instead of other people, but she called Robin and tried to call Robin, couldn't get in touch with her. Robin was at some kind of recital with her daughter, couldn't get in touch with her, so she called David Dotson, who's also in the church and friends with Robin, and said, "Hey, I'm trying to get in touch with Robin. Summer's missing. I need to talk to Robin." And so he goes, okay, and he got in touch with Robin eventually. She called Candace, and eventually Robin and David Dotson went up to Ben Hill that night. They went up there. David showed up before the cops were even there, and was up on the hill. And then Robin showed up after the cops had all showed up. So there was a whole lot of speculation around, why did she call Robin? Why did they end up being present on the hill the night that Summer disappeared? That's the whole David Dotson thing that they're going into now at this point.
Interesting.
Interesting. And people say that is a phrase that they use there.
Yeah.
And Nana's hysterical.
What's that?
Nana's hysterical. I think she's funny. When you guys see me laughing, it's usually I'm reading something Nana just heard.
Nana
said that he's lying about the distance.
Yes. And she knows. She knows.
So wait, if he's lying about the distance, then that would be why his eyes were blinking.
It
She's
could
talking
be
about the 150 feet.
Yeah. You know how hard it is to estimate distance, though? I mean, if somebody asked me how far the road was from our house, I'd say 300 feet. I don't know.
300 feet, that's fine.
We have a long driveway.
That's a football field. All right, let's continue this.
And stuff.
Well, no, not until after she disappeared.
Oh, so she didn't know him very well before that?
Well, she met him a few times. Summer did, and Candace did, and they got to know Robin and everything.
But mostly at church?
Yeah.
Was there a daycare thing at church?
No, I mean, no, not a daycare. No. But they do have their own private school.
Did your kids go to that private school?
No, we was trying to get them into it. Yeah.
They go to public school?
No, it's a private school.
Okay, they're going to private.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they do go to public school.
Okay, yeah, and you were just trying to get them into that private school.
Right.
Is there a waiting list or something?
No, it's
Just
about money.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm a soldier. There ain't money in being a soldier.
Yeah.
I get it.
But they teach them a lot of good Christian ethics and stuff like that.
A lot of Sunday school. How long is the church? How long is the Sunday school part? Like, do the kids go to Sunday school?
Yeah, no, Saturday.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what do y'all call that? Yeah. What do you call it? So it'd be Saturday school?
Yes, sir.
Do they really?
Well, it would go every Saturday to church.
So they call it Saturday school? Or is it just church school?
Well, I don't. I just I would say Happy Sabbath, because that's the Sabbath day.
So he had like a smile on his face there, Dr. Vona, talking about church and stuff and Saturday school. It seemed kind of genuine.
I was going to say, I think he's telling the truth in this whole part. And I think you see that he's engaging. He's not blinking fast. He's not doing the tongue thing. So I feel like he's like being honest here.
Yeah, they got him to drop the guard.
But that makes me wonder when he does all that blinking, why he's doing all that blinking when he does.
Yeah. I mean, it could be the guard. I think he might be dropping his guard a little bit here.
No, I think that this is just not a threatening conversation.
Yeah,
that's true too. That is true.
Yeah. Well, how long does the Saturday school last with the kids?
We'll be there at 9:30. Well, we got our first class, and it runs about an hour and a half, and then we go to the big room together.
And the kids are separated from everyone?
Yeah, at the first class, and then we all join together in the big room. And
so they have different. I guess you got different teachers.
Yeah, with Robin and other ones that teach the younger ones, and there's a lot of kids there. They're extremely happy.
Yeah. How many classes are there? Do you think?
Well, you got your younger kids, and then you got your. I'd say there's about 3 or 4 different classes and age groups.
Are all the girls and boys that are at Summer's age are in the same class?
Yes.
Who teaches that class? Do they have a
I can't remember her name. I know Robin. I think maybe Robin teaches the youngest ones.
Yeah, so she was our teacher.
I think so. Yeah, and that's why she was so proud. To give Robin that little yellow necklace and the bracelet. And so proud.
And Dave was the preacher at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And did he ever teach him or anything? Did he ever do
David?
Yeah.
Our pastor?
Yeah. No, you're talking about David.
Okay, you got David Dawson, and you got David, our pastor.
David, pastor, yeah.
The pastor. He teaches the adults. Like I would go to his class, and my wife, the older ones, and he's got an awesome class. Love it. Absolutely love it.
But never kids. You never work with the youth group or anything?
Not the pastor. I don't know what he teaches in their school. I'm not familiar with that too much. I've been there, but I don't know.
Yeah. All right.
So who else did you guys interact with aside from the church? I mean, I know you were not home much, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that. But it's tough.
Really nobody, because drywall takes up pretty much all my time.
Sure. Yeah. And you drive a fair amount?
Yeah, up to work, yes.
Okay. How far away do you work from?
Well, it depends. I'm not doing a house in West Virginia somewhere.
Oh, gotcha.
It might be anywhere. My next house is coming up in Boone's Creek up here.
When the incident with Summer happened, when Summer disappeared, where were you working that day?
I was in Jonesboro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jonesboro, which?
Yeah, Jonesboro.
Tennessee?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know this area very well.
Yeah.
How far away is that from home?
Well, it takes 45 minutes to get from there to my house.
Okay.
And so up 81 all the way, and that's where I was working. And previous to the day someone come up missing, I fired a guy because he was extremely out there.
What was he doing?
Yeah.
He was just out there.
What kind of out there? I know you got to be careful.
I think meth.
Okay.
I can't prove it.
Did he take that?
Dan, quick question.
He was extremely mad.
Did he know where you lived?
Somebody say a question?
Yeah, quick question. So he changed the subject, didn't he, at that moment?
Yeah, he did.
They were asking about his job, and he immediately jumped to the topic of the guy he fired, which is interesting, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think it's him deflecting. It's his way of deflecting to, all right, you guys have been asking a lot of questions about me. Here's somebody else that maybe we should, maybe bring up a little bit that is possibly to deflect from the attention of it being mainly at me to somebody else.
And also, if he fired someone, then in his head, that could give somebody like that they want revenge against him. So it's like something that he probably thinks that they would buy into.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're probably, just because of time, guys, we're probably only going to go into about 20 minutes or so. So
Yeah,
we're going to definitely
totally
have
with
to, we're going to definitely have to come back and finish this one, but this is good.
I'm turning the camera off to take a drink, but I'm still here.
Okay.
Have you heard from or seen him since?
No, our investigators have talked to him, and he's talked, I guess pretty well. But I mean, the day after someone come up missing, he called my boss and he was crying and saying some really oddball things. My boss has a really good memory, so he remembered every word of it.
What was he saying?
Like my kids, let's see, the hills have eyes. I got too close to that family. What was the others? I got too close, and my kids can't see me in the back of a police car again. See, he worked for us 7 years prior.
What do you think about those statements, Brian? Has there been anything that has been proven to be true? Like, has Don's boss come out and said that yes, this guy called and said these things?
Is he talking right now? Did he change the subject again, or is he still talking about his coworker Dudley?
He's talking about the coworker saying that the day after the disappearance that he called his boss, and that his boss has a really good memory, and that his boss said that he had told him that he couldn't be seen in the back of a police car again, that the hills got eyes, and a bunch of other things.
That was weird.
Yeah. Has the boss confirmed this?
No, none of this. Each of the things he's talking about, the Dudley thing, the boss, there was a whole bunch of other theories and claims that came out from Don about the boss too, and other people. None of these came to fruition as being true. They were they were deflections. They were just distractions from everything else.
Yep. Sounds about right.
The only thing that's weird about, not necessarily weird, but the only thing about Don that bothers me when it comes to like him being good for doing something or being involved is that Don would be the easiest one to figure out if he had something to do with it. His story about him being in Johnsboro would be really easy to figure out, especially if he turned over
his own boss.
I don't think he's his own boss.
Oh,
he said that somebody called his boss, and his boss has a good memory.
Yeah,
I thought he said that he just fired someone, but I guess you have to be the boss to fire.
He did contract out, so he had people help him.
Yeah,
he would pay them.
But was he like his own boss?
No, he worked for a drywall company, I believe. He got these jobs from the boss he's talking about. He's a subcontractor.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, it's if the boss doesn't come back and say that these things are true, because if he wasn't there, or it'd be really easy to figure out if he was there or not. His phone, I know that he turned over his phone. I think he told McDonough that when they gave him his phone back, they told him that it was deleted or whatever the case may be. Again, I wonder if that was a tactic, to say, hey, I wonder if when they were asking him about their day, what did you do? What did you do? Where'd you go? All this other stuff. And I wonder if during that process, if they didn't tell law enforcement, well, check our phone, we have everything there. And then, I would tell them something. I wouldn't tell them that their phone was deleted. I would tell them, no, I want you to tell me what you did. I want you to give me what you did. But I can see somebody using that as an out, saying, hey, we'd love to use your phone, but we can't. Now we have to deal with you. Now tell us where you were. You know what I mean?
What if it was deleted?
There's only so much you can delete. But if it was deleted, that's evidence. I mean, that Bryan that was evidence used against Bryan Kohberger, that his phone was deleted and that there was missing information and all this other stuff. Like, that would be massive. I mean, that would be massive. That would be huge against them. That would be a huge piece of circumstantial evidence that you could then you have them missing. Now you have missing data on their phone. You have a time period of when she didn't call 911. You can start building a case against them to make an arrest there. And you don't need a body to make an arrest. And so to me, yeah, I would definitely like, and even if they could delete, if they deleted something, I don't know if they can delete their GPS history or their advanced call timing records, which would indicate where he was at. I mean, that's just, there's only so much you can delete when you do one of those factory resets. Even Bryan Kohberger couldn't get rid of everything.
I agree, Dan, because he obviously had his phone. If Candace called him that afternoon, that was the claim. Candace called him. So right. He had his phone. I agree with you. Like, law enforcement has to know exactly where Don was when he was there, and I don't see how he could get away with lying about where he was.
I don't think that I necessarily think that he did anything, but I do think that he knows something more. Like, so I'm suspecting that this is probably like what we said before, like the drug angle type thing. And in my opinion, that's what it looks like to me so far. But I don't know. Candace is really suspect to me. For me,
You don't know? Like, you're saying you don't suspect her?
no, I do like. I feel like she knows more. Candace does.
Yeah. Okay.
But I feel like he knows more too. But I feel like she like is where like people they could get the answer. I feel like
We're aligned. Yep, I'm aligned with you. I agree.
Yeah, you agree with that?
Yep.
I think that there's more. I think I've said it too. I think that there's stuff that they seem like they're hiding, or there's stuff that they don't seem like they're coming up front with. With Candace, I wondered if it was an out of marriage relationship. That she was, hiding. Like, it's kind of like in the Delphi case with Ron Logan. He was lying and deflecting about certain things, but it wasn't because he took the lives of Libby and Abby. It was because he was out drinking and driving and things like that, and he wasn't supposed to. He was on parole. It was a violation of his parole. He ended up spending like 3 or 4 years in prison because of it, and that's what he was trying to avoid. And so, I say that to I forgot where I was going with that, to be honest with you.
Well, Dan, a quick question for you then. I mean, if you're the first, let's say you're the first cop to arrive on the scene of a missing child. There were 2 people there, well, children as well. Who's your first person to go to for the answer of what happened to that child? Is it the guy who was?
Candace.
What's that?
It'd be Candace.
Exactly. She was there. Her and of course Grandis was there, and the boys. So for me, that's why I align with Dr. Vona's comment earlier. I feel like she has to know what happened.
The fact that she cut her hair, I'm still thinking, you guys, and I know I keep going back to my initial gut feeling. I wonder, like, do we know if like he has any deviant behavior as far as like anything when it comes to any of the kids? Because could she have worried that, I don't know, could she have been jealous of this kid? Like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but like, could Candace have been like not jealous in the sense that you're thinking, but like jealous in the sense of like maybe getting attention or something like from him? I don't know. I feel like there's like still, you know what I mean?
They've admitted in past interviews. I mean, she even said on the Dr. Phil show that she was a little daddy's girl. So
she did say she was a daddy's.
Yeah.
The only thing though is also they like, didn't she pass a polygraph test?
It's debatable. People have different opinions on quote unquote past. She took
what
2.
has TBI said?
She passed, but it didn't.
They don't release that.
They've not said anything about her being truthful or anything at all.
The only thing so Sheriff Lawson said that they were no longer cooperating and they had lawyered up. According to Don, they did not lawyer up. They lawyered up related to the DCS case, not related to the Summers case. That was his comment. I don't know how true it is, but that's what he said.
Okay.
There's no clear answers in this case, man. It's a nightmare. Like you'll have 5 different things people have said and they contradict one another. It's crazy.
No, but I will say that I feel like there's more of a direction in this case than I do like Jack and Lily.
I mean, maybe. I mean, TBI did come out and say that there was 2 things that they believe happened. Either she wandered off or somebody abducted her.
But what if it's neither? What if?
No, I understand what if, but that's what they said. They believe that it was on Don's YouTube channel. So take it for what it is. But it was a video from TBI that was referencing the case, saying that at that point, this is what they believed. That there was 2 options: either she wandered off or somebody abducted her.
I wish they would do that in this case. They have not shared anything. They've been so quiet on this case, and I wish they would say something like that. At least give people an idea of what direction they're headed in.
Yeah. Let me see. I want to see if I can find that, because maybe I'm taking it the wrong way. Let's see.
That's true. People are saying that's a good point. Lawson also said there's no sign of abduction. I think TBI might have also commented on that. I know at least Lawson said there's no sign of abduction.
This is a John Milton, Assistant Director, Criminal Investigation Division, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, on the TBI interview 2024, the two possibilities.
We don't have the evidence in this case to know for sure whether or not Summer was abducted or whether or not she walked away from her home and became lost. It's really important to us to not focus all of our efforts on just one of those two. We think that the only way we'll be successful in finding Summer is to continue to walk down both of those investigative paths to ensure that we don't become focused on one area alone and miss something that's crucially important.
So he's only talking about two avenues and only two avenues. And this is a 2024, so this is recent. This is less than 2 years, obviously. We're 2026. So, to me, it kind of seems like they've ruled them out to a certain extent.
They didn't say that, though.
They didn't say it, but I mean, they're not throwing that as a possibility either.
Didn't one of the scenarios he just said, it sounded like he said, we're not actually taking that off the table, abduction?
Abduction, yeah. He said there's two possibilities: that somebody abducted her, or that she wandered off, or she walked off.
I wish I was like the one asking questions, because I would have asked, like, are these the only two possibilities that you come up with? Or are these like, is this like after you deduced from other things? Like, because it just makes it sound like here, like it was this or this.
Yeah.
But like, could there, like, were they thinking other things and they just said, no, those other things didn't happen. It has to be this or that. Like, I just have questions. Like, I don't feel like this was completely.
I don't know. Let's watch this. This will be the last thing we'll talk about tonight, and then we'll come back to the other one. But let's finish this. There's only 4 minutes, so let's listen to this and then we'll discuss this.
I would say this case is not gone cold. A cold case is typically framed up as a case where there are no tips or leads that are coming in, and there are no investigative efforts that are happening because there is no place to travel with the investigation. I would say in this case, thanks to the public, we've continued to have tips and leads that have come in that agents have been able to follow up on continuously. And the agents have worked tirelessly when tips and leads weren't coming in to try to find ways to investigate when typically people would.
I will say this though, like outside of Dawn or Candace coming in with a confession, or them finding Summer's body somewhere and there being evidence there, I don't think there, and even if there was a confession, you still need evidence. You know, John Benet Ramsey had a lot of people that went and confessed about her case, and they just didn't have the right evidence behind it to back it up. And so you have to have the evidence to back it up. It's kind of like in the Jack and Lily case, where it's like, all right, what more evidence can all of a sudden just pop up? You know, they've investigated Candace and Dawn just like they investigated Daniel and Malaya fully. I'm assuming here, I don't know, but I'm assuming that Candace and Dawn have been investigated fully. My question is, after so much time, it's not like they're going to get new evidence tomorrow from the cell phone, or maybe they'll find some sort of camera. I don't know, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, if there was evidence to be found against Dawn and Candace outside of finding Summer's body, wouldn't that be found by now?
I don't know. That's more of an investigative question that I would ask you.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of like with Jack and Lily, because a lot of people keep saying like, oh yeah, you know, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. They're going to arrest Daniel tomorrow. And I'm like, based on what? Like, what are they getting in that's going to all of a sudden flip the page that now they have some sort of evidence that they're going to go and do something? I feel like that's where they at on this case too. Like, you even with these tips that are coming in and against probably Candace and Dawn, I assume that tips are still flying in against them. They're not even using that still as a possibility that they did something. Now, again, I don't know. Maybe they're.
What makes you say that, Dan? That they're not looking at the parents anymore?
Well, I'm not saying that they're not. What I'm saying is that at this point, like, I mean, outside of them, like you can bring them in again and continue to talk to them and continue to talk to them. But at this point, like, what more can you get out of them?
Right. Out of the parents is what you're saying.
Yeah. Like, what more can you get out? Like I think all that juice has been squeezed.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel that, like, with this case a little bit, I don't know it all the way, so I'm not like completely sure. And I feel that there's probably a lot more of the gaps filled in by law enforcement, timeline, things of that nature, when they believe that Summer may have gone missing. I'm fairly positive they have it much more narrowed down than what they're giving out to the public. The fact that they're not giving it out to the public should say something, though. I think that means that they probably think there's some sort of criminal element here, that it's more than likely a criminal aspect than a wandering off situation.
With the number of people involved in the case, the number of people they've looked at David Dotson, Robin Lane, all of the neighbors, Fred Hill, Andy Bernard. They've searched 5-mile radius. I personally feel like in this case, I do think that TBI, I think they know what happened. I think at this point they know what happened. The problem is I just don't think they have the hard evidence they need to go before the DA and say, we have a solid case, let's go ahead and charge someone. I think they're close. And even in an interview, what's her name? The spokesperson for TBI, she even said in a very recent interview, like less than a year ago, that they only need one last piece. She literally used those words. We need one last little piece.
Then definitely.
They're so close, and I think they know. I think they know the answer, but they don't have.
And that would say that they're holding it all close to the vest too, because if they do get that one little piece that they need, they want to make sure that they do have a case that's not going to be jeopardized.
Are y'all familiar with the Delphi case?
Somewhat.
And Abby?
Very little.
Not really, but somewhat.
Okay, so a lot of people, kind of the same thing. They came out and started saying, so we know you're in this room. You could be watching this right now. A lot of the same stuff. And they had some pretty strong suspects in that case too. Ron Logan, Keegan Kline, who was pretending to be Anthony Schatz and was catfishing the young ladies. In the end, when Richard Allen's name came up and they finally got a good suspect, it wasn't very long before they arrested his ass.
Yeah.
And so the same thing's going to happen here. When you have a good suspect and you know who you got and they're, you got the evidence to back it up, it's not going to take long. Now, it might be more difficult to pull evidence today on this case with the Summer Wells case when it comes to like a new suspect, like with the even with the Richard Allen case. All you had there was the ammunition and his statement at the time of his arrest. Then he came up with his confession and things of that nature. But had they looked at him earlier, had they, the advanced timing records on his phone would have been there. There would have been a lot of other things that would have been able to snatch the guy and been able to make it even more of a concrete case against him. But because it was 5 years later, it took some time. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that were lost. In this scenario here, although it's been 5 years, Candace and Dawn weren't suspects 5 years later. They were suspects day one. And so they, all the evidence and all that other stuff, it's not hard because there's certain things that have to happen. Like when somebody commits a crime, like in this scenario, they got to dispose of the body somewhere. They got to get off of their property. They got to leave their place. They got to travel at least a certain amount of distance that wasn't searched, by cadaver dogs or things of that nature. They have to come back. They got to get back home. I talk about this case that happened out here in Texas with the young lady, and a lot of people were looking at her ex-boyfriend saying, oh, he's suspect number one because he used the term was, because he said that she was her boyfriend or he was her boyfriend. And they were like, oh, then he's saying that in past tense, this means that. No, they had to break up. They broke up. And that was the truth. Now, all these people were looking at him as a suspect. And I said, I choose patience when it comes to those things, because if it was him, You know, there's cameras that he has to leave his neighborhood. He has to get into her neighborhood. He has to get out of her neighborhood, back into his neighborhood. You know, the cameras, the phone, the activity, the evidence that should be there to figure it out, whether or not he left or came back or any of those things, should not take very long to figure that out. So if you have the right suspect in mind right away, it's not difficult to make an arrest. And like even with Richard Allen, once they got his name, and if you listen to what
Dude,
Carroll County was saying,
didn't they have his name at one point, like in the notes earlier in the case, and then like someone new started looking at the case and they revisited?
So so Richard Allen ended up going and so Richard Allen was out there on the trail that day.
Yeah.
His wife talked him into going and reporting that to an officer. He chose to go report that to a conservation officer, minimizing. This is a clear sign of, for me, minimizing his like. So he didn't go like directly into like a regular law enforcement officer. He went into a conservation officer, probably. I guess it'd be more intimidating to go to a detective, especially if you've committed a crime, versus a conservation officer. And he gave him this information, but because law enforcement were so gun-ho on what they had at the time, which was, I mean, and I understand it. They had Ron Logan, who was lying about his alibi, and they had Keegan Kline, who was catfishing Libby and was catfishing a bunch of other young ladies, and apparently, supposedly at one point, maybe even possibly planned to meet up with him. And so, with all these things there, yeah, I can see how they were like, oh, well, this guy, this is who we need to look at. We need to look at the guy who's faking an alibi. We need to look at the guy that's catfishing and has all this child stuff on his phone and on his stuff. And so what ended up happening is, because it ended up being a dead end, and because even though they thought so hard and they wanted it so bad to be Keegan Kline, in fact, they were searching a river just before they finally gave up on him, because he had said supposedly in an interview that he threw the murder weapon, that he did it and he threw the murder weapon into a river or something of that nature. But the thing is, at the end of the day, they could prove he wasn't in Delphi that day. He was somewhere else. I think he was in like Logansport or something like that.
Wow.
So they had the evidence that he wasn't there. He wasn't there, but yet he kept lying about this and that, and they wanted it to be him. And when they drained the river, the Wabash River, and they found nothing there, they decided to let somebody or go to the beginning. And then that's when they found Richard Allen's statement. Yeah. And once they found his statement, I mean, immediately within 3 weeks, he was incarcerated. He was in jail.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, it doesn't take long.
There was a comment in chat that made me wonder, would you guys mind playing a little game here? Just a tiny little exercise. I'm looking up. So Shoma, shoot, I lost it. Someone
After
asked,
this holiday, I could use all the exercise I can get.
Someone, not that kind of exercise.
I'm just joking.
Someone asked, what does every person on panel at this point think happened?
I saw that too.
I would love to hear, could we go through, if you don't mind, Dan, I'm sorry to take over here, but I'm just curious. Like, we've talked about this case, 3 times so far? The 3 of us have had, right? At this point, do you guys mind giving your individual takes? We can all kind of take turns and give our individual takes on what we've talked about so far. What do you think happened to Summer Wells?
Do you want me to go first?
Go first, Dr. Vona.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, and again, you guys, this is speculation. We're all speculating right now. None of us know, because if we knew, she'd be here, right? We'd find her. But I think that just from all the behavior stuff that I saw so far, and just because I know things like the best predictor of future behavior is past relevant behavior, which is why I look for patterns, I think that Don probably didn't have anything to do with it hands-on-wise, but maybe after the fact knows something or is protecting Candace in some way, in my opinion. And I think Candace knows more. I won't be surprised if we find out that there's like a drug angle here, and that there's jealousy of Summer from the mom, whether it has to do with the dad's attention. Something with the cut in the hair is going to play a role in it too, in my opinion. And like, I think all of that's going to come into play. So, and I think that, so I don't know exactly what I think happened, but I don't even think Candace necessarily did anything with her hands, but I do think she knows what happened or was part of it, as far as like, whatever that meant, whether that meant giving, her someone or letting somebody use her for a little, whatever it is. And I don't know what that could be, because I don't know what the culture is there. I don't know like what we're going to find, but I probably think it's probably something drug related, and that Candace probably knows a little bit more than what she said.
It's shocking to me because you've been very focused on Dawn's kind of personality, and I assumed you would say you thought Dawn knows more. So it's interesting to me.
Well, no, I think that Dawn is protecting Candace in some way. So almost like, which is probably why she's like still like he protects her. Like you see when she gets like, when she starts to get anxious, he'll jump in, or sometimes he was answering the question so much that Dr. Phil had to say, I asked her, I didn't ask you. Like, don't answer for her. So yeah. I feel like, so he provides that like that superhero power for like that hero for her. But at the same time, he also provides pain for her. But I think that goes back to her own childhood, where I don't know this to be true, but I have a feeling we'll find out that she also has had love and pain confused in her childhood, which makes pain and love at the same time feel normal in adulthood.
Interesting. Yeah, for me, the whole Dawn and Candace, I don't see Dawn coming to Candace's aid as much as Dr. Vona does. In fact, I think I've seen him throw her under the bus a few times.
Well, yeah, if it gets close to him.
Right. And that's why I felt like when he stepped in and was answering for her, I think it was more so because he was afraid of how it would look more towards him versus how it was going for her per se.
I agree with that 100%, Daniel. Daniel's right about that. That is 100% right. I do agree with that. You're right.
And so, yeah, I think it had more to do with him.
You're
and
right.
To me, I think that when it comes down to this, I think that Don would have been the easiest one to make a case against if he committed this crime. It would have been very easy to find the evidence, to find that he wasn't where he said he was, where he was at home, and all these other things. Candace is a little bit harder to prove, just because she was with Summer, and so it's not like she was supposedly somewhere else, and it's impossible for her to have been with her or any of those things, and so that makes it a little bit more challenging. If I had to take a bet today, I would say that I think Summer walked out of that house and then ran into somebody, and something from there happened. Whether it was an accident with the tree trimmer, whether it was the wrong person, I think she ran into somebody outside of that house when she walked out. At this point, and I think that the things that Candace and Dawn have done had made it possible for something like this to happen, and that's kind of what I have mentioned before. Like, shitty people do shitty things, and shitty things happen to shitty people that are doing shitty things. Is because if you're out there and you're too self-centered in yourself, and you're not paying attention, and you're not doing this, and you're not doing that, then your daughter walks out of your house and you don't even know. You know what I'm saying? And so, to a certain extent, I think there's some culpability there, and that's kind of where I'm going, leaning towards it with that. But at this,
do you think it could have been willful ignorance, like where she turned a blind eye to somebody picking her up, or do you think it would be more like something she didn't know?
I don't think she knew. I wonder. So there was the tree trimmers in the area. I just wonder if that grasped, Summer's attention, if she heard the tree trimmers and she got curious and went out that direction, and walked there, which would lead to why she walked down the weird path that she may have, that the dogs tracked all the way up to where the tree trimmers were, to what it sounds like. And we had the canine group on, and one of the questions I had was, if she was put into a taller vehicle, would that affect the dogs? And it would. And if it was a tree trimming, vehicle that was out there, that may have an effect as far as where the dog's losing the trail there. And so I suspect that that's more likely it. Like, and it's kind of like the Bryan Kohberger case. when I was talking about that case in the beginning, I was like, hey, if this was Jack, if this was the ex-boyfriend, if this was this person or that person, we're going to find out fairly quick. If somebody close is going to be really easy to figure out. You know, the further that we go away from it, the more than likely it is further away from that inner circle. Doesn't mean always, just most of the time. But man, guys, it's been a great show. You guys got any
Wait, we
final?
have to get Ryan's real quick. Ryan has
Ryan hasn't said his.
Wait,
yes,
I want
yes,
to amend mine real quick because Ryan was talking about how I was like on Don's personality, and that would be Don's personality to think of himself before anyone else. So I actually do agree with you. I do think the protection of Candace is more like a narcissistic thing, like a "this is why you need me" type thing. But that could just be in everyday life too. Like that might not have anything to do with. So like it just seems like he provides like a dad protection type. I don't know. I get that weird. I don't know. Not weird. That's a bad word. I get like a traumatic vibe.
Yeah.
A weird relationship is what I meant between them two. Like I don't see them as much as husband and wife. Like I feel like they're not giving me husband and wife as much as like you would think. So maybe that's what I'm trying to like. I feel like it's more of like a parental type role, or like you provide me with a home, safety. So now I have to make sure that you're fed, like whatever the case may be, but two people dance together.
Dr. Vona, you're so fascinating when you come up with these insights because like there have been other relationships. There have been other weird rumors about like side people. You know what I mean? Like Candace was, yeah. And when you talk like that about their relationship, I'm like, oh, that rings true to me too. That rings true that they're not a normal. But I'll give my input. So, obviously I've changed my opinion often on this case. As we learn more, as we interview more people, it's changed. And our immediate thing when we first started looking into the Summer Wells case was the parents obviously had something to do with it. Definitely Candace. The whole swimming hole thing was very disturbing because there was alcohol involved. When we interviewed someone who had lived there for a little while, we learned that Candace had a habit of giving alcohol to young children. And so the possibility of Summer somehow ingesting something that was not good for her at that age, as you probably know, children at 5 years old takes a lot less alcohol to have a huge impact on their body. So my first leaning was Candace did something. She was negligent, and this whole thing with their interviews was a cover-up for her negligence as a parent. She wanted to present herself as not being negligent. That's why she would always say, Summer Wells never ran away. She never ran off. I would never have any problems finding her. That's not true. We know that's not true. We know Summer had consistently people babysat there. She would run away. It was her thing. She loved to do hide and seek. So there was this cover-up that seemed to be meant to cover for her negligence, in my opinion. So we were very focused on the parents, although we didn't publicly admit it at the beginning, because there's this 50-50. If you say you think the parents are guilty, you'll get attacked. But we did. We suspected the parents heavily. When Dan and I started doing this deep dive into the dogs, we had that interview with the dog handlers, and we realized that there wasn't a discrepancy with where the dog went. They stopped at the bottom of the driveway. It wasn't at the bottom of the dog trail. It wasn't like Dave Rader said, bottom of the driveway. It actually was both. They came down the dog trail. They went to the bottom of the driveway. In my opinion, at this point, where I am right now is something really important happened at the bottom of the driveway. Whether it was a handoff, if there was a drug deal and Candace handed off Summer at the bottom of the driveway, or there was an accident at the bottom of the driveway, something important happened at the bottom of the driveway. And the other piece of evidence that I consider really important is further up the road, right across from Fed Hill's place. That's where Michelle After Dark constantly talked about the footprints and the scent trails that they found. So something happened at the bottom of the driveway, and then something continued from Fred Hills across the gap behind where the guy named Gorley lives. What I think happened is something happened at the foot of the driveway, and Summer was moved. Whatever happened, I'm not going to say I know what happened. Something happened. She was injured or whatever, and she was. The next thing we know is that she was taken from up the road on Ben Hill across the split the gap, as Andy Bernard would call it, split the gap behind the hill to Fields Road area. I think she was hidden once by someone, and I still don't understand who. I think she was hidden once to get her out of the radius. There was a 5-mile search radius around Ben Hill Road, and I think she was moved to take her outside the search radius initially. And then I think she was moved again. And that's where I stop. I don't know. I'm trying to focus on what the evidence
you said that's where I stop, as if that wasn't detailed enough. That was pretty detailed. Mine's is pretty basic, but that's pretty detailed, which means that you've done a lot of your imagination as far, and I don't mean imagination in any way. I'm saying like you've been able to put all these pieces together to map something out in your thought process. That was very detailed, and I was following you. And I must say, because if my mom's here, Truth Exposed, she's been saying the thing about the driveway forever now, so she probably feels so vindicated right now because both of you said something about the driveway thing. Yeah. And she's probably like cheering in chat right now, like I knew it. But I don't know. I think the beauty of this is, Ryan, what you were saying earlier is that your mind changes because when you find out information, you update that, right? And that's what it means to be intelligent. You're intelligent. Yeah. When you find out new information, you think critical, and when you get the new information, if it changes your thought process, it changes. Mine changed in 2 seconds when Daniel said about, oh no, I think he was for himself. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, so, but just in that instance, I thought about it, put the pieces together, was like, yeah, that's more the probability than the one little piece that I thought. So I'm able to do those things. And I think that that's where, like, I know people were saying in chat, like, oh, she's not agreeing with Dan as much tonight. But my thing is, who wants to join a show where we were always like, yes, Daniel. Yes, Ryan. Yes, Daniel. Yes, Ryan. Like that would get bored, really. Yep. And none of us are arguing. We're not like, no, you, like, we're putting our heads together. And I think it's good because, like I said, even just my own thought process changed in 30 seconds just from hearing both of your perspectives. But I think that's the thing about this case is that it continues because she's not found, right? And I think that so many people are so invested in this. How long has this been now? How many years?
Gosh, 2021. So 4 years now.
And it goes by so fast, right? Yeah. So, and I hope that there's still justice for her. And I feel like there could be. I really feel hopeful with this case. I don't know why, but I feel hopeful.
What I love talking to you guys about this case, what I love about our discussions is what you just said, Dr. Vona, is the whole, obviously, you know what cognitive dissonance is. And to me, it's so bad online. People pick a theory, and no matter what evidence you put in front of their face, they'll throw it out if it doesn't match their theory. They want to stick to their theory. And what I love about you guys is you'll take new information, new evidence, and you'll incorporate it into your understanding of the case, and you will change your mind if it is strong enough evidence, right? And so I value these conversations so much. It helps me to.
And Ryan, just because I teach psychology and I don't want somebody to be like shade it and even pick up on that. So that's more of like a cognitive, more of like participant bias, like researcher bias. So that's more of that. Cognitive dissonance would be more of where you have two different thought processes about the same topic. So think of like, I love my dad, but I hate him because he never comes and picks me up on Saturday afternoon when he says he's going to. So it's having two different thought processes. But I think you're right. I think there's a ton of cognitive dissonance, and it's natural to have cognitive dissonance. I feel like that just shows that people are trying to put these pieces together. But we do have to make sure, like Daniel always says, that we follow the evidence because that's what's really important here.
Yeah. Stay open-minded.
So I do agree with Daniel on his birthday. You got 3 minutes left.
Yeah. Well, like I said, guys, I think this one's an interesting case. I don't know what happened. That was just my best guess for today.
Yeah, right.
You know, to me, I think that it'd be less likely there's a lot of moving pieces. Because moving pieces equals loose lips equals convictions and arrests. You know, when you have multiple people, you have multiple things happening. Or people revisiting the crime scene and stuff like that. or revisiting where the person may have been buried or hidden and disposed and then moved again. That's so if we were to go back to like the Bryan Kohberger case, that was one of the things that made him difficult to catch, was because he was aware of how investigators were going to investigate him. And so he plotted out a route that was going to take him longer than the investigators were going to look at the cameras to determine whether he was getting into Pullman or not. He wore shoes that were common for anybody, so that way they would blend in. He chose a house. He did so much stuff, and yet after the fact, he only returned to the residence once, and that was before the crime was discovered. After that, he never returned back, which is one of the biggest tall tales that you're looking for. Big red flag is somebody returning back to the crime scene and stuff like that. I say all that because like he got caught and yet he had all this experience and knowledge and things of that nature. I don't think somebody from this area is going to be able to that's been not from this area, but like from this, like from who we know. Like I don't think Fred Hill, I don't think Summer, I mean not Summer, I don't think Candace, I don't think Dawn, I don't think Andy Bernard, I don't think any of these guys are going to be able, like if they become under the microscope of law enforcement, I don't think they can overcome it. I don't think they have the background to do it. I don't think they got the know-how.
I agree with you 100%. I think a common theme though that we sometimes see is an ego, and it's usually the ego, like how like with Don and BK, like you get that feeling that like they think that they know themselves. Even with Daniel, I know I'm going to wind up getting hate for this, but like how like he's very like he's very confident and stuff like that. Maybe narcissistic, but with that being said, I feel like there's like similar personality traits that you see as far as I don't know exactly where I was going with that. I just had a brain, whatever, at the end of that, a brain fart, an old person moment. Oh, I know what I was saying. Ego. Ego is what usually trips the people up anyway and gets them caught. So the one thing that gets them to, have people like, you have to remember, you have to have a lot of confidence. Like, let's just say, and I'm not saying any of the people I just said, let's say Bryan Kohberger, because we know that he's guilty. So he could say, I did it, I didn't do it, whatever the case may be, but his ego is what winds up getting him caught in the end. He winds up telling us that he did it, but it was only because he was backed in a corner. He didn't really have a choice. He had to know that they had the evidence, although afterwards we saw it. We were like, oh, thank God they caught it. But so I just think the ego is what's going to trip people up if something is going on here. And I think that Don's got a big ego here. Yeah. And Ryan, I still worry about you talking to him. Just be careful.
We don't talk a whole lot. I will say.
No, good. I'm just. But do you know what I mean? Like how somebody could possibly use stuff to, even to me. That's why I purposely try not to sometimes, because I'm like, I could see we're all human, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to call you after this and yell at you for anything, is he?
I have a weird. So you don't understand. There's a whole history. Actually, I have a video out there called the shocking truth about Ryan, why he searches for missing children. And I've got a very strange history as far as research. I've interviewed former CIA scientists on some of the declassified documents, declassified projects. I understand deception. I understand people who try to manipulate your belief system. But going back to what I wanted to say earlier, I think this case, when it comes out, when the truth comes out, it's going to shock everyone. I think the person who's guilty, no one has looked at. I honestly think that it's going to shock the heck out of everyone. Maybe the parents had some knowledge of something, but I think the guilty party, I don't think anyone has ever I don't think they've ever made it on the radar. And I think that's why it's such a hard case. And I think it's going to shock everyone when the truth comes out, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, if you look at some of these other cases that have taken some time, that's usually the case. I mean, Richard Allen wasn't on the radar for a long time. Bryan Kohberger wasn't on the radar until his DNA gave him up. Up until that point, everybody was blaming everybody that they saw. And so, yeah, 100%. That's why it's like, for me, it's like when somebody says, hey, like Bryan Kohberger, and this kind of like go full circle what we talked about in the beginning. people were saying his phone turned off, that it could have been because of the network. He's out in the middle of nowhere, his phone turned off. And if you stop there and you say, you know what, that makes sense, there is a rural area. But then you got to really think about it, and you got to put everything in together. His phone stopped reporting to the network while he was in the middle of Pullman. He drove at least at some point through Moscow because when his phone turned on, he was leaving the Moscow area. And so we would have to believe that his phone lost service where it was supposed to be the strongest and came back and stayed off service through 2 areas where it was supposed to be strongest and came back in an area where it was supposed to be the weakest. That should say something. Now, if you just go with the first thing, like, oh, it's rural area, of course there's service issues. But if you think about the problem, you start adding to it and start saying, all right, well, let's look at the scenario. Let's look at where his phone turned off. Let's look at where it turned back on. It starts to paint a different picture, and it starts to paint a clearer picture of what really happened. And I think if we do that with this case, I think we probably get more answers than we probably think. I think there's probably a lot more answers here than not. Kind of like with the Jack and Lily case. That's kind of what I've done in that case too. It's like, all right, this sounds good, but let's work this problem out to its fullest and see how it fits. You know, it sounds good that Daniel may have been doing drugs the night before, but where's he getting the money from? Where's the meetup at? Where's the location? Where's the buy at? Where's the drop off? Where's all this other stuff that's happening that's going to, allow law enforcement to create a criminal case against them? You get what I'm saying? So that's, it sounds good on its surface. It sounds real good. But once you start to peel back the layers, does it still fit the pieces? And if it doesn't, then you got to, in my opinion, I move on from it. But
I see you doing that, Dan, though, with every piece of evidence. Like we talked about the tree trimmers, and you immediately started looking at, okay, there were tree trimmers that day. All the people that were there that day, how could they be involved in the case? You know what I mean? And a lot of people have looked at other characters like David Dotson, Robin Lane, blah, blah, blah. And you're looking at outside the box, like who else? What other scenarios are out there that could explain what happened to Summer Wells? I think it's important. You've got to keep the door open to, could it be someone no one has ever looked at before? Could be,
Very much. Well, guys, it was a pleasure talking to you guys on the East Coast where you guys are at. We were already on January 2nd. So, where I'm at, I got 55 minutes left in my birthday, so I'm gonna go celebrate.
Oh yeah,
Happy birthday. 5
minutes. An hour. That's
I got
right.
an hour to go. You guys have a great night. Guys,
Thank
go
you.
follow Ryan and Dr. Vona. Their links are in the description. I'd appreciate that. Follow me. I'm trying to get to 55,000. My goal for 2026 is I don't know, 70,000. Let's get to 70,000.
No, $1 million.
I'm gonna get to 70,000 too. Yeah. You gotta shoot high. Let's go for 100,000. Maybe I'll get it like 5.
Hey, you put it out there and you believe it, it'll come. You put it out there,
We'll
believe
get there
it'll
someday.
come. Exactly. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ryan.
Wonderful talking to you. Absolutely.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Thank you, guys. Everybody,
Thank
happy
you,
New
guys.
Year. I'll
Happy
be back.
New Year, everyone.
I'll be back tomorrow and then again on Saturday. So you guys will see me for the next 2 days. I'm sure you guys, what do you guys have going on this week, if anything?
I think I'm gonna jump into Casey Anthony.
Ooh.
I
Let me
did
know.
like a
I want to
poll,
be in there.
And Casey Anthony won.
That's an interesting. The other one that you should probably look into that's kind of getting hot right now that I think everybody would like your opinion on is JonBenet Ramsey. There's been a lot of movement in that case.
Yes, please. Yeah.
That would be cool.
I actually followed that case. That one, yeah, okay, I will.
That one I think everybody would be interested in your opinion in. Ryan, what do you have coming up next?
We'll be off on a random search. I haven't decided this weekend what case we're going to cover, but we will be in the wilderness somewhere on a mountain, freezing cold, whatever. We'll be searching probably.
There you go. Well, guys, I want to say thank you, everybody. You guys have a blessed, happy New Year. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace out, y'all.
Peace out. Thank you.